as a result of some architectural error, I fell into an underground parking deck, 50 feet, and dropped down 50 feet. And it immediately broke both my legs, like snapped them. I landed on my butt from there, and that sent a big shockwave up my spine and blew out multiple vertebrae. One of the vertebrae blew out so hard it actually hit my spinal cord to the point of paralysis. Because I should be dead. Like, I should be dead like 1,000 times over. I should be dead. Like, people fall from 10 feet and they're dead. Okay, I fell from 50, not dead.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 47 of the Andrew Deitch podcast. How's it going? Feels good to be back. I've been feeling a little under the weather the past few days. My voice might sound a little bit weird. It's probably just a little bit deeper. I don't know. But I'm back. It's been a lot more challenging to pump out episodes recently. I don't know why, but I think it was because when I was cranking out like 3 episodes a week, I was really neglecting my my personal responsibilities and my health. Wasn't really working out as much, but I'm back. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling pumped. Got my energy back, and I am recording episode 50 tomorrow with a very, very, very special guest. I'm very pumped for that. Can I say very any more times? I don't think so. But if this is your first time joining me, welcome. I appreciate you. I hope you stick around. This podcast is all about having awesome and real, raw, transparent conversations with the coolest and the most interesting people that I can find. And over the past few months of starting this podcast, I've gotten the chance to sit down with some of the most fascinating people and get the inside scoop of their brain and hear their stories. And lucky for you, you get to come on that journey with me every single time. So in the last episode, I announced that episode 47 would be with my friend Alan, but Alan had some really, really big stuff happening this week that I'm sure we'll be announcing later. But that means that I'm actually going to postpone launching his episode for a little bit until he can get back to reality, and I'm going to launch it next week. So as you could tell by today's title, my guest is not Alan. My guest today is a guy named Richard Corbett, and I'm always looking for new guests, and of course, who else but to ask my previous guests who they think should be on the show. They know a lot of cool people too, so put that out there, put a post in my secret podcast guest Facebook group, and I said, hey, is there anyone I should definitely have on the show? And my friend Sheen from episode 38 suggested that I do one with Richard. And I'd never met him before, but he was super pumped about being able to share his story, and he seemed like a really fascinating guy, so I invited him to be on the show. But Richard is a very interesting guy. He's super talented. He's an artist. He's a bodybuilding and fitness fanatic. He is a college dropout, just like me. And like you heard in the intro, he's working through a very large injury that left him in a wheelchair. But because he's on this obsessive quest of becoming the best version of himself, he is breaking down his own physical barriers and mental barriers every single day. And whenever I'm launching a new podcast, I'm always trying to figure out like, okay, what's the angle here? What's the story? How do I pitch this? What's the little intro snippet thing going to be like at the beginning? What story am I trying to tell here? And most of the time, it's pretty straightforward. Like, oh, this dude is an artist. I'll pitch it as an art niche podcast and try to get other people interested in that to listen. Or, oh, this guy's into fitness. I'm going to market it as that. Or, oh, this guy's an entrepreneur. But Richard is like all of those things, and I couldn't have been more pleased with how this podcast turned out. I think anyone who's a fan of my show is going to really love this episode. But Richard got really deep, very transparent. He told me that there were some things that he shared during this episode that he had never shared publicly, and I would assume that most of his friends don't know those things as well. And he's got some of the best stories that I've heard so far on my show. I really want to thank him for being so open and so honest. And I'm really happy to say that we've actually become friends since recording this episode. But I'm going to shut up now and get on with this. So without any further ado, please welcome my friend, Richard Corbett.
All right, Richard, how do you say your last name? Corbett?
Corbett, yeah.
Richard Corbett, we're live, dude. Does it feel weird?
I mean, the only thing that's weird is like when I listen back and hear my own voice, I'm gonna be like, who the fuck's that guy? Like,
Yeah, it is weird. One time I was listening to my podcast in the car and I was at a drive-thru and I didn't stop it and the person that was like at the drive-thru giving me my food thought I was talking to them because it was my same voice.
oh shit, you're like, may I please have a number one with fries? And then you're just in the background still talking.
Yeah, it was actually like I had stopped it for the order part, but then to go pick up my food, I had started it back up because they were like, anyways, doesn't matter. But
that's kind of hilarious.
It was pretty weird because I was listening to my own self-talk.
Yeah.
Kind of psychopath kind of behavior, but
That's not psychopath at all. Like I do video journals because I also like not write. I just use the notes app on my phone. But I'll journal that way. But sometimes that just isn't appropriate. Like if I'm driving or if I'm like eating food or something and I want to just like get some journaling out. So I'll like vlog myself just talking to myself, right?
and you don't post it anywhere. It's just
Fuck
just
no,
for
that's
you.
for me. That's for me. That's not for anybody. Like I say some weird shit on there. like fingers crossed, like that doesn't get out, but it might. Like who knows? I really don't care. But
That's funny.
it's definitely it's kind of like it's interesting to be. You can be really transparently honest with someone if it's you, right? Like there's a way. You know, I do this weird thing sometimes where I call it like mirror work, where I literally go stand in front of the mirror and stare at myself and then start talking to myself as if I'm not me, right? And it opens up this dialogue of like deep-seated trust. And there's no secrets because who knows you better than you,
yeah.
right? And you get into, it's brought me to tears a couple of times, like some sheer honesty. But it's also a good way to like pump yourself up and like cheer yourself on and be like, you can do this, you got this, you're the fucking man. Like there's ways that you can do it, but there's also like deep work that can be done, like stuff that you might have repressed or like put back in the past or you don't want to talk about or like memories.
Yeah.
But because it's only you, there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
But verbalizing it has a way of like releasing the power. Like I think there's something special about voice. Like voice has a way of taking away the power from like our history, from our traumas, from our whatever.
And there's like some things where I've for example, like with the voice thing you're saying, voice is so powerful. Like I've re-listened to some podcasts. I'm like, oh, someone might hear that and like someone that I might have not really wanted them to hear it. But then I'm like, maybe they should hear how I actually feel about it because I've never like told them in so many words. So sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, should I put this out? Should I edit it? And I'm like, like them hearing it because there's a difference between also, like my parents will listen to the podcast sometimes. And my dad's actually listened to a lot more than I thought he ever would. But I think like it's kind of cool because a lot of times when I'm talking with my dad, if I'm just trying to like get some thoughts out, like the way that I'm conveying it would be different because he's my dad and I'm talking with him that way. Yeah. And I think like him being able to hear me in different contexts where he's not even anywhere in the picture is like kind of weird for him, but also kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I've known for myself and I've seen through others, like there's an interesting phenomenon that we will monitor our own language and our own delivery based on the listener's response. They're not verbally, like even nonverbal responses. Right, so there's layers to it, right? Like I know I prefer voice communication over all types of communication. Preferred method is one-on-one in person. Second preferred is FaceTime. Third preferred is phone call, right? Other than that, we can do like text voice messages, which like there's the artist that I'm working with, she does that all the time. It's like voicemails, but you don't have to make a call first. It's just a voicemail.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's perfect. There's a good way back and forth. And then there's the other layers of all text communications, like social media communication, text message communication, email communication. Like that's shallow, right? There's a lot of context that isn't missing. There's a lot of tonality that's missing. There's a lot of language that's missing.
And like weird generational stuff. Like I was talking with one of my bosses and he responded like K. Just K ... or whatever. And like to a young person, K is like, whoa, dude, what's up? Like, why are you so angry? And to him, it was just like, yeah, cool, K.
Yeah,
all right.
Like, all right, cool, got it.
Yeah, it was like totally miscommunication. I was like, why are you so angry? And he's like, I'm not angry. I was just saying okay. I'm like...
But with the advent of emojis, I can give someone a K by sending them a thumbs up.
There we go.
or whatever this symbol is, you know,
Yeah.
the circle with your index and thumb and then the 3 fingers up on
like
the top.
the circle.
They're like, okay, or like, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can even hit them with a rock on or a peace sign, you know, just
Yeah, the rock on is underrated, that's for sure.
You know, and then my favorite is the stupid double hands up, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like
It's like, preach. Woo.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Well, to kind of go back to who you are and everything for the listeners, obviously I've kind of already introed you in the intro, but we actually don't really know each other. This is the first time we're meeting, which is fun.
I'm really enjoying that. That's great.
Yeah. And the cool thing is I've actually done this a few times now where I just meet someone cool and like we'll have an awesome conversation. It's the first time meeting. But so if you could kind of give yourself an elevator pitch, or like if you could say what you do and who you are in 30 seconds, 1 minute or whatever, how would you describe yourself?
Gotcha. All right, so I'm really passionate about personal development and self-betterment. Like I wouldn't be where I'm at today without like this obsessive quest to try to become like the best version of myself and help other people become the best version of themselves. I'm really passionate about creating art and creating in general, any type of like tinkering, building, creating, even on the biz dev side of things. Like give me a problem, I'm gonna find a way to solve it, right? I'm also really passionate about fitness. I'm in a position in my life right now where I'm healing from like a really big injury that I had many, many years ago. And due to being like fucking obsessed with this shit.
Yeah.
Like my whole lifestyle has changed because I'm attempting to heal something that like I was told would never heal. Ever.
That's so awesome.
Like ever. Yeah, like like we'll get more into it later, but like it's fucking incredible.
That's so cool, man. Yeah. That's really awesome to hear. So take me back. Where were you born? Like all that kind of. Give me kind of like life story, because
a little bit of a timeline.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. Give me some timeline. Give me some context.
All right. So I was born in Roanoke, Virginia. The first house we lived in, I don't remember much because we moved out when I was 4. The only thing I remember about it was like there was a green train in the basement, and I also remember like a blue football I used to play with. And
it's weird how you remember like the weirdest stuff.
The weirdest little things, yeah. And
do you have siblings?
I do. I have 2 older sisters.
Nice.
One's 5 years older, and one's 9 years older. At least I think that's right.
5 and 9 years older. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So there's like a pretty good gap there too.
Yeah, I'm the baby boy of the family. I'm the one who got away with murder, right?
I feel like when you have older sisters though, like that's kind of cool, because older sisters generally are pretty cool to the younger siblings, rather than like an older brother might be kind of a jerk.
Yeah. So my oldest sister is old enough where she played this like dual role, like sister mom, or like mom sister.
Yeah.
Right. And I really appreciated that. And then the middle sister, she and I would like fight all the time. Like she was my bully sometimes. Like tackling me and spitting loogies in my face, and like we were always like back at it. But it was funny, like as we've got older, we've become like the bestest of friends.
That's so
because
awesome.
Like we were just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's funny, she right about the age that I was like big enough to fight back, she ended up getting pregnant, and I couldn't fight back. So she like still rubs that in my face to the day. She's like, you still haven't been able to beat me up, like yada yada whatever. But
that's so funny.
Yeah, it was interesting, because I remember being all like mad about it. Like I'm finally taller than her. I'm finally stronger than her.
She had to go freaking get knocked up. No, I can't beat her up. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's super funny.
That was a good situation. So a lot of the memories I have around that house are based in photographs, right? Like photographs that like my mother has. So I'm like, oh, okay, I think I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
Then I moved to this really cool place in the Blue Ridge Mountains called Mount Pleasant. It's near Roanoke, Virginia. And
I've heard of Mount Pleasant before.
Yeah?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever been there, but I've heard of it.
So we were in like this valley of the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Nice.
Like in a horse farm area. Like we had nothing to do with farming, but the person who built and developed the land had a horse farm. So that part of my childhood was like play. Like that's all I would do. I would play with the horses. I'd shoot archery. I'd throw rocks in the pond. I'd build tree houses. I was homeschooled, and a lot of the kids in the neighborhood were also homeschooled. So we would just like hang out and do stuff together.
How long were you homeschooled for?
My whole life.
Whoa.
There's been a couple of little nuggets here and there. Like when I moved to Kansas City when I was 8 or 9. Yeah, let's say 9. whatever the last half of fourth grade is.
Yeah.
I tried going to a public school, but my schooling was different. Like my type of homeschooling was non-traditional. It was skill-based. It was life skill-based. It wasn't actually book-based or knowledge-based. So in a schoolroom, I was really dumb. Outside of a schoolroom, I was well advanced beyond my age. So it was really hard. So I tried, and I would do terrible.
Yeah, of
and
course.
it like mess with my ego and mess with my self-esteem.
Because like being good at school is like a skill, and it's like a useless skill.
It's totally unnecessary.
It's completely useless.
It's completely unnecessary.
Yeah.
Like I mean, if you look back at history, like forever, people got taught by their parents and by their elders and by their neighbors, right?
Takes a village.
Takes a village, right? School is the experiment. School produces factory workers. School is for if you want to work a 7 to 3:30 factory job, if you want to be obedient, yeah, sure. But jobs aren't like that today. Like factory jobs aren't even like that. But the 5 factory jobs that exist now, they're not. That's not a thing anymore. And so the experiment of school is continually failing. Like there's a lot of people that are either dropouts or GEDs or degenerates or whatever dumb bullshit label they put them on. But I was fortunate enough to, throughout my life, have mentors and activities that help develop those skills.
That's super awesome. Yeah, because I was actually homeschooled until 4th grade, but it was, I mean, I lived in like the suburbs of Atlanta, so like I didn't have like this crazy land and stuff like that. Like my mom homeschooled us, but she like followed this like curriculum, so it's still kind of like book based and stuff.
There are people that do very normalized, and I say that in air quotes, right? Versions of homeschooling. Like some of the people that I grew up with were very much, they did this thing called co-ops, where like if one parent was really good at teaching science, they'd all go to that person's house. If one parent was really good at history, they'd all go to there. So it was like this group thing.
Yeah.
Another group of homeschoolers I knew, their mom stayed at home and taught them and homeschooled them until freshman year of high school. Then she'd push them off into high school and let them do the high school years.
Yeah, that's pretty typical. I feel like lots of people will homeschool up until high school or whatever.
Yeah, and so there was a separation, divorce in my family, and my mother and my 2 older sisters, we moved to Kansas City. I was 98, and
how old are you?
I was like 9.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
I think whatever the last half of 4th grade is, whatever age.
Yeah. I don't even know, to be honest.
Whatever age that is, and like since I had already like beat to the beat of my own drummer and kind of did what I wanted to do and was already kind of a weird kid, like stepping into a school environment, like I didn't have a concept of something called social acceptability. I didn't understand that. And so all the decisions I made them because I wanted to do them. If I wanted to wear a bright colored rainbow shirt, I would. If I wanted to dye my hair a different color, I would. If I wanted to get my ears pierced, I would. If I wanted to roll around on rollerblades and trick on scooters, I would. But I got bullied the fuck up a lot. Like people used to shit on my life and like make fun of me. And because I wasn't like school smart, you know, I was dumb, I was retarded, I was stupid, you know, like all this terrible shit, terrible nicknames.
Yeah, of course.
You know,
kids are mean.
Kids are terrible. I mean, there was a whole like group of people that used to call me retarded. Like,
wow.
Like how rude is that, right?
Yeah.
And I think at the time, like my mother saw a lot of like the stress and anxiety and like the pressure that I was building up and was feeling in that, and a lot of my like self-esteem, and I didn't have a lot of the similar like activities and stuff that I did because we went from like farmland to suburbs.
That's what I was gonna ask.
That's a whole nother thing. That's a whole nother place. That's a whole different universe. And
at the farm, did you have like ATVs and stuff like that, or
it was like bikes and like hiking and like playing with the animals.
You said archery.
And shooting archery and shooting guns and picking fruits and apples and bouncing on the trampoline and doing arts and crafts and like learning how to like skill based, right? It was it was heavily skill based.
Yeah.
In the sense of like, this is a life skill you need to learn that now I realize some people in their adulthood don't even know.
Like what kind of like you say like life skills, like what kind of like stuff was it like your mom's like, okay, today we're gonna learn about how to do this, or was it just kind of like over time? It was just like
it was a slow and progressive. It was more of like an independence thing. Like, okay, you're gonna learn how to do your own laundry. Okay, you're gonna learn how to cook your own food. Okay, you're gonna learn how to clean up on your own stuff.
Love that.
Like, I remember one time I broke a Game Boy that I was playing with, and I was like, Mom, I need you to call Nintendo and have them fix it. She goes, no, you're gonna do it. You know, I'll give you the phone. I'll give you the phone number. I'll help you send the package, but you're gonna be the one who's making the phone call. I was like 6 or 7. Right, and I called up Nintendo and like told them the story of how it broke, and they said ship it in. They shipped it in. They sent me a new one back with even a new game.
Wow!
Like, it was awesome, you know. So it's that type of stuff that it was very much like, no, you can do it. I'll help you do it, but you're gonna do it.
Yeah,
like
I've thought about that a lot, dude. Like because
it's like empowering. You know?
Yeah, I've dealt with kids a decent bit, and like one thing that I always see that frustrates me is when parents out of frustration, or they just want to do things fast, they'll just do everything for the kid, and they want their kid's life to be awesome, so they just do everything for them. And I want to like instill in my kids, like from day one, like my job is to make you independent from me as fast as possible.
As fast as possible, yeah.
And like literally, like I want you to be able to do, like kids are always like, I just want to grow up, I just want to do big kid stuff. It's like, okay, cool, like we're gonna get there, but like there's things you got to do before then.
Yeah, you have to gain trust, responsibility.
But trust me, I want you to get there too, because then that means that you're out of.
That I got less work.
Yeah, you're out of my hair, and I've raised somebody that can raise themselves, kind of.
Yeah, so if I ever do have kids, which is still one of those like, I don't know yet, I'm young, we'll figure it out. Like it's not a definite no, but it's not a definite yes either. It's like, we'll see. But if I do, I'm gonna homeschool the fuck out of those kids, like for sure, and I'm gonna do it my way. Yeah, because I don't really feel like.
What's the deal with like with the government and stuff? Because obviously they have like a weird say in it. Because obviously they don't want kids. This is the perspective I think from the government, is they're like, we don't want just a bunch of stupid parents saying like, I'm not going to send my kid to school, I'm going to teach him myself, and then they just don't teach them anything and teach them how to be a idiot. Right.
So the correct way to do it is to every year you like take standardized tests. I didn't do that. I knew people that did that, or like every 3 months or whatever, they did that stuff.
So
in the end, I just got a GED. I was 17, got my GED. In the state of Kansas, if you get a GED, they give you a high school diploma.
Wow.
So I had a high school diploma.
And like during the years of schooling, because that was one thing that I remember with my parents, like I don't exactly know what it was or how it worked, but like I think every like semester or year, my mom had to like submit like what she was teaching us or something.
Yeah,
weird.
My mom never did that.
Yeah. So it was just like.
She probably should have. Like low key, she probably really could have gotten a lot of trouble, but she didn't do that. At least to my knowledge, she didn't do that.
Yeah.
And
that's so funny.
And there was some areas where like, so for example, as a result of being homeschooled, right, I got a lot of freedoms really young, right? So even at 9, right, like my oldest sister went to college, my other sister started high school, and I stayed home and was homeschooled. I did a lot of like reading and like video game playing and like TV watching and like laundry and all that, bullshit until like 2 or 3 when all the other kids got out of school, and that's when I could go out and do my thing.
Yeah.
Right? And it was always like hobby-based and activity-based stuff. I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna start, competitive BMX dirt jump racing and biking, or oh, I'm gonna start tricking on this. Or I never really got into too much trouble, but I definitely was a degenerate at certain times in my life because I had so much freedom. Like, and then it reached the point where I think I got my first job at 13. I was a baseball umpire. And then by 14, I had 2 jobs. I was working at a dog grooming salon during the day and a baseball umpire at night. So by the time I was 14, Mom had 0 leverage on me because I paid for everything I had and did and had money to do whatever I wanted to do. And
when you're 13, you got 2 jobs, you're like a millionaire.
Dude, I like buy movie tickets for my friends and like had like a brand new Xbox and like a brand new bike and like always going to the gas station and getting snacks and you know what I mean? Like I always had like the coolest.
It's like the equivalent of buying Lamborghinis and stuff
and I,
when you're older.
The newest, coolest Fossil watch because you remember when that shit was banging? Like, yeah, this one's iridescent. Like, look at this thing. Like, I don't even know how to tell time, but look at this watch, right? Right?
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but that was kind of my thing, and so because she kind of lost all her leverage, I started to basically just do whatever the fuck I want, whatever the fuck I wanted, which was awesome, but also dangerous at the same time, right? Because a 14-year-old being like, mom being like, hey, I want you to be home by 11. I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna go to a movie at 12, and then I'm gonna go to IHOP afterwards, and I'll text you after the movie, and then I'll come say hi to you when I come home. And she'd be like, well, shit, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, okay.
She's like, I can't really ground you, and I can't really take anything away from you because it's all yours. So what can I do, right? But at the time, I was also involved in Boy Scouts, right? So in Boy Scouts, I had a lot of leadership positions, I had a lot of responsibility, I had a lot of leadership skills, and I was working my way up the ranks and eventually got my Eagle Scout. So
what was your project?
I renovated the basement of this church.
Nice.
I like ripped off the wallpaper and like repainted it and like made it all nice.
That's cool.
It seems to me that you know that you must be one too. If
I'm
you know
an Eagle Scout
if you know what a
too,
project
sir.
is. All right, cool.
Eagle Scout buddies.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, if he knows what a project is, I was like, he knows what's going on. So because of that role and because of those mentors that I had there, you know, like my scout leader and the assistant and like all the boys, it was a homeschool troop too, which was cool because we get to go on like the craziest, wildest, most non-normal things ever.
Oh, that's so epic.
Oh man, like I remember we used to do the coolest shit. Like every month we would for sure go on like a pack everything in, pack everything out, like 3 or 4 day trip through some crazy something. But we'd also do like stuff that was like outside of the books.
Yeah.
So we would do, I remember one time we did.
And if you ever got in trouble, you could be like, well, we weren't doing this through Scouts, we were just all hanging out.
Exactly.
This is our homeschool group. What are you talking about? This isn't Scouts.
This isn't Scouts, what are you talking about? Yeah.
We're just having to be wearing our uniforms or something.
So I remember one time there was this one weekend where it was like, this was the coolest fucking weekend. So we knew this was gonna happen because for like 3 months we prepared for it. Like we practiced all these skills, and I'll tell you what it is in a second. We practiced all these like emergency preparedness skills, right? And one weekend we were at one of the guys' house for like some Thursday night, and it was the week that we were normally gonna go to a camping trip, but we didn't do a camping trip because we were gonna just stay at this person's house and like camp in their backyard, and we were gonna learn like some dog training skills or something silly, right? And the leaders kidnapped us, like on purpose, and like dropped us in a field in the middle of fucking nowhere, and in the middle of the night, and that we all knew what we had to do. We all found a way to get shelter, we all found a way to get food, we all found a way to work together, we all found a way to navigate, we all found a way to get back to where we needed to go. And we did it within a couple of days.
That's so
and like,
cool.
as a team, as a group, as a unit.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And it was super tight, because when we got back, like it was probably the coolest shit ever, because we were like, they got us, dude, they got us, and like, but they've been training us for us, and it was straight out of like Liam Neeson, you know, like hearing the birds and like counting the turns, and what is that? What is that? Whatever that movie is, Taken maybe.
Yeah.
No, it was hardcore, and like measuring distance using sticks and aligning stuff with the stars and learning how to make shelters and lashing ropes and how to collect food. And
did they give you guys supplies?
no shit, nothing. They literally like, we had like pocket knives, right, and like watches.
Whoa.
It was like what we had on us.
That's so epic.
Yeah, I remember it was so wild.
I remember there was something at Boy Scout camp where they did something like that, where like if you went, maybe it was Order of the Arrow or something like that. I can't remember. It was some.
So I did Tribe of Mikasa.
Yeah, it was something
similar,
like that.
yeah.
Like where they one night they do that to you.
Yeah.
But it's like one night, and they're not expecting you to get anywhere. They just come pick you up in the morning or something like that. I can't remember.
No, ours was next level.
Yeah, that sounds legit.
But it was tight because that whole homeschool group.
Did you guys have to like forage for food or anything, or like did you eat anything, or were you just trying to get back?
From what I recall, there was a couple of times where we like used water as like a source of food because that was like a thing, and one of the guys was like really talented on like plantery or whatever it was, like certain foods we could eat, certain plants we can eat. I mean, and I have a feeling that they were definitely like monitoring and watching us. Like, there's no way they literally just like dropped us, you know?
Yeah,
like we were adolescents. Like they were for sure watching us. But it was super tight because I think it was like 8 or 9 hours.
Nice.
It was like sunset the next day. We made it to where we needed to go. So it was like less than 24 hours.
Wow.
We found our way back. But without those skill sets, we wouldn't. And we were sweet. Like we would go shooting guns. We'd play paintball. We would.
I remember they would never let us go paintballing with Boy Scouts.
Our troop did all the time. All the time.
Yeah, they were like, you can't do paintball.
That's how I got into paintball. That's how I got serious into paintball. So that's what introduced me, and then eventually down the road I was playing tournament level D3 PSP paintball. Like
dang.
Like I made it through the fucking ringer. Like but starting at Boy Scouts, that's what started it.
That's so cool. So you got your Eagle Scout and you got your GED.
Yeah.
And then you're still in Kansas, right?
Still in Kansas, yeah. And even throughout those years, so that's quite a few years. There's still a lot of like mentors and people that I really like look up to, people that put me underneath their wing, that really saw something in me. Whether it was like a parent of a friend's parent, whether it was someone in the neighborhood, so at the time I was like real heavy into church stuff. So like a youth leader, or a lot of people invested in me, right?
Were your parents religious?
My dad more than my mom, but my mom as well. My dad was like next level, like very much so. Like I remember hearing stories. I don't remember this personally, but like he wouldn't allow like Christmas trees in the house because they were pagan idols or something like that. And we would never have like Christmas celebrations. We'd have Happy Birthday Jesus celebrations. So it was weird.
Yeah, I was gonna say typically the stereotype of homeschooling would be a pretty religious thing too as well. Like typically families that are homeschooled are also very religious because also they don't want their kids to be going to evil public school.
Mine was kind of like that, but not really.
Okay, I gotcha.
Like for example, like I didn't learn about like evolution or physics until I was like, I don't know, like 20s or like early 20s.
Had you even like heard of it or like?
Well, so it's funny. I had a roommate that we were talking about something. And I said something about like Noah's Ark or some shit like that. And he like straight up like face palmed. He was like, "The fuck, Richard?" He's like, "Do you think that's real?" And I like my brain, like the record, like, I was like, "I don't know." Like, and he's like, "All right." He's like, "Do me a favor. I need you to find one peer-reviewed journal on any of that bullshit that you just mumbled." And I was like, "What's a peer-reviewed journal?" And he's like, "Oh my God, you're so fucking dumb." And I'm like, "So tell me, tell me." And
that's so funny.
And like that launched me into like YouTube series and like Netflix documentary series. And that was kind of like got me into like Hitchens and got me into Dawkins and like got me into so much stuff. And I was like, I don't believe any of this.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe any of this. Like, what? Like this is crazy. Like I can't believe I
didn't know there was an alternative.
Yeah, I didn't know there was an alternative.
I thought this was fact.
Yeah, no, straight up.
It's so funny, man. Because I'm kind of similar. Like grew up like going to and even after I was homeschooled after 4th grade, I went to a private Christian school, very small, up until 8th grade. And like I was kind of the same way. Like, and even in high school, I'd been so like conditioned where they would literally tell you like, yeah, scientists will say the Earth is like millions of years old, but like that's all bullshit. It's like 3,000 or whatever. You know what I mean?
And you'd be like, okay.
You'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, yeah, they're wrong. They're not Christians. Like we know. Like God's right. Like they're wrong. Like they're they're misguided. Like they're just because in our book it says this. But like even I don't know in the Bible where it even explains that the Earth is like 6,000 years old. It doesn't. People just believe that.
It was only after I decided to not be a Christian anymore did I start actually studying religious texts. Right? When I got heavy into the Bible, I got heavy into the Torah, I got heavy into the Quran. I was like, oh my gosh, like there's so much in here that's so ridiculous. However, there's a lot of good stuff too.
For sure.
But there's also a lot of bad stuff. There's a lot of crazy stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff. Like real weird.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't know this was in here. Do people really believe this? Oh, did I really believe this? Oh man. So that was
it's funny because like a lot of like modern day Christians will be like, oh well that's just like old traditions, and then like but all this stuff is real, like Noah's Ark, that was real, like it's like how do you
there's a lot of contradiction. There's a lot of contradiction. There's a lot of special pleading, there's a lot of cherry picking, there's a lot of justification, rationalization. And honestly, so my oldest sister is like very high level up in a very big church that she works at, right? And she's been a career like minister / whatever you want to call it her whole life. And it's interesting, her and I have very similar values, right? But our belief systems are very different, right? Her why is different than my why, right? Why she does blank is for her reasons. Why I do blank is for my reasons, but the bottom line is we still do it. Right? The reason why she's generous and the reason why I'm generous, different. The reason why she's grateful, the reason I'm grateful, different. But the bottom line is we're both generous, grateful, kind, etc. Right? So I vibe well with Christians. I vibe well with people of faith. Right? It's on their why that's different. They have a different why than I do, and I think because values and beliefs don't necessarily have to go hand in hand. right? And like, I don't fear a hell. I don't fear heaven. I don't fear death, because that doesn't really, like, that's not like a thing.
Yeah.
Right? My motivations are like, oh, okay. I'm going to be a good person because I want to be a good person, because I want to help people, because I want to be kind, because I want to be generous, because I want to, because that's like the good fucking thing to do. Not because there's like a reward at the end. Not because I get to go to heaven at the end. Not because I get a gold road, right? And a brand new house and a life that's just never ending celebration. Like I would kind of fucking hate that, honestly. Like a party, just like a never ending party. Like okay.
It is weird, right? Like you're kind of like, okay, like life is going to end. Like I'm not, I think about this a lot, actually, like maybe a weird amount, but I think
probably not. It's not weird at all.
Yeah. And I think probably most people don't think about it enough is the fact that we're all going to fucking die.
Yeah.
And
Memento mori.
Yeah. And like when you die, hopefully it will be a peaceful passing. Obviously there's some sorts of painful and excruciating deaths, and obviously I don't want that. And that's the kind of death that I do fear. But like as far as like passing, like I'm not really afraid of that. It would kind of suck because I like living, but like I'm not like every day living in fear that I'm gonna die.
So this is my thing. I don't remember what life was like before I was alive. So I imagine that probably the same thing's gonna happen after I die. But let's play devil's advocate here a minute. Let's say there is a God. Let's say there is a heaven. I'm pretty sure that dude's gonna be like cool with the life I'm living. Like if there is one, like I'm sure more than likely be like, oh yeah, no, you're cool. Like you're a good person, like you're living your life to the fullest, like you help people, you help yourself, you know, you're not harming anyone, like, yeah, come through. You know, so,
it's really weird.
Like that's my idea behind it. Like if there is, right, but I can't say with certainty, no, there's not, because death doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly.
However, I do know quite a few friends that have died, that have come back, that they're like, yeah, there's nothing. There's not much going on there.
Died in what way? Like they
so I'm in recovery, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what that means for me is for an extended period of time, I've been using the mind or mood altering substances, right? And when you're in recovery, you are around a lot of people that are also in recovery, right? So through meetings that I go to, through other activities we do together.
Yeah, it's a big community.
It's a big community, right?
I actually used to be roommates with a few people who are in recovery.
Right, helping hands. But the reality is a lot of people drug overdose, right? And you can die and come back to life. Like that's not uncommon to die of a drug overdose. Like your body and your brain stop and be resuscitated, right? It's not uncommon to die and then like be in a coma for a month or two and have like trachs and shit down your throat and all that stuff. Like that's not uncommon, right? So there's plenty of people I know that have died and come back and they're like, yeah, no, it's like you don't even know it.
Yeah, you just come back and then it's like when your computer restarts, it didn't know necessarily what it was, or a computer sometimes like it still knows what time it is when it comes back and stuff, but like a Game Boy or something, when you turn it off and then turn it back on, it's just resetting completely.
Yeah, and there's some people that would argue like, oh, it's not true death unless you don't die all the way. But whatever, and like also, so
you gotta die all the way, bro. You didn't die hard enough, bro.
You didn't die all the way, bro. Like, yeah, I know your brain wasn't working and like your heart wasn't working.
If you died and then came back to life, then did you actually really die?
Did you even really die?
Do you even die, bro? My grandfather died, bro. No, it's not real.
No, and that's also something too. So in the spinal cord injury community, right, which is like the big reason for my disability is the spinal cord injury. Is there's a lot of people that have been in like heavy, hardcore, gnarly, traumatic accidents, both as a result of their injury and even as a part of recovering from their injury. And again, it's not uncommon for people to die and be resuscitated back to life. It's not uncommon for people to die and to come and live off life support for a little while and then come back. Like that's not uncommon. So to have like quite a few touch points of people that are like, yeah, I've died. And they're like, oh, sweet, what happens? And they're like, nothing. And you're like, okay. Nothing. You're like, cool. They're like, yeah, it's just like a nap. Like you don't know you're asleep until you wake up, right? And I'm like, well, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's like, so.
Unless you're dreaming, but a lot of times you don't. A lot of times you're just asleep, and then the next moment you're awake.
Yeah. But I remember that one of the hardest things from my transition from like from Christianity to not Christianity. I don't like to put a name on it, right?
Yeah.
Was I basically describe it like I just don't believe in the gods of religion. Period. Like, I believe in there's something greater than ourselves, but I don't think it has a name. I don't think it has control over anything. I don't think it's like present. I think it's just like whatever.
Yeah, just like energy that's controlling
Sure,
stuff.
you can call it whatever, like energy, momentum, presence, physics, motion, like whatever. Like, you don't have to put a name to it. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
And I remember, dude, like so much was hard. It was really hard about the whole, like, your life has purpose, right? Like, there's a plan for you. Like, God's looking out for you. Like, all these like promises, right? And I got really angry and got really resentful for a while because I was like, I've been fucking lied to. Like, I'm pissed the fuck off right now because my reality is, for now in this moment, that like all of those things I was looking forward to, I'm not really looking forward to anymore.
Whoa.
So that was heavy for me. That was really heavy for me. And then I even have like a lot of like my future wasn't as clear. It was more like gray and ambiguous, right? Because I always put all my action under the cloak of like for His glory, right? Like, it was under the cloak of like, you know, share the message. Yeah. And then now when that was gone, I was like, oh shit, why do I do anything now? And I became like kind of angry and resentful and depressed. And I was that one guy at the party in the corner talking with the Christian. One person like, you're an idiot. No, you're a fucking idiot. No, you're a fucking idiot. You know, it's like, just like back and forth. Like, I was that asshole.
That's so
where
funny.
everyone was just like yelling back and forth at each other for no stupid reason.
That's so funny.
That was no way to live, man. That was no way to live.
How old were you at this point?
I was like 21, 22.
And did you go to, after you got your GED, what did you do? You were just working and...
So it's really interesting. So,
you said you had like a roommate and you were talking about Noah's Ark.
That was like college try number 2 roommate.
Nice.
So after I got my GED, I was still in Kansas at the time, and I was I've always like had a bunch of jobs, like a bunch of little. Yeah. Like, if you look at my resume, you're like, what the fuck is going on with this guy? Like, like jack of all, like for sure. Like if I could figure out something, but
that's awesome though.
I was working at a cable pulling place. Like, we went to construction and pulled cable, and that was terrible. I didn't like that.
It doesn't sound fun.
Yeah, and
pulling cable doesn't sound fun.
Dude, it was terrible. It was so lonely. It was so annoying. It was lots of driving. It was construction people. It was just gross. But I learned how to network like a boss. Like, I can network a whole building. Like, that's like literally hardwire it and build a patch panel and network it. So
that's a skill that I have no idea about.
It's useless. Unless you want to set up like a media server in your own home. Like,
that's what I was gonna say. Unless you're like running your own business one day and you want to like custom do some shit.
I would just hire someone to do it. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, very true.
And then I started going to school at ITT Tech for electronic engineering.
And so you were still in Kansas?
I was still in Kansas. Okay. Yeah. Nice. And again, I like fucking hated it because like me and schooling just don't mash.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not my, and I don't know why I kept trying. Maybe like social pressures, maybe like a desire to feel normal, right? A desire to prove people wrong or something. I don't know what it was. And then eventually I ran into someone who I'm still friends with today, who we're still like working together. At my sister's wedding, so this is almost exactly 10 years ago, and you'll know why here in a second. So like 10 years ago, my sister's wedding, her like her bridesmaid's husband or whatever, like I knew he was cool, heard stories about him, yada yada whatever. We met, we chat, we talked, and he after the wedding was over, there was just like a bunch of chaos that was going around the house, on the beach and stuff like that. He's like, hey man, you wanna get the fuck out of here? And I was like, yeah. So we eventually ended up like in a hot tub at his hotel, like just he and I just talking and chatting, and it was weird because I'd never interacted with this dude before, and I'm like, I'm in a hot tub with this dude. Like post wedding, like this is that's so funny. I'm like, but I'm not around the house, I'm not around where these chaotic women are, like we're good. And eventually went back and helped out, but
what was the chaos about? Like
I don't remember. It was like they had to like be out of the house and completely cleaned up and completely torn down in like 4 hours. And that's like close to impossible. So there was just chaos. There was a lot of people at like an 11, like working really hard. And Aaron and I were like, yeah, let's get out of here. So we started chatting and talking, and I found out he did some really cool like artwork. Like he'd done like a war memorial, and he had like his own foundry that he worked out of in Kansas City. And I was like, yo, that's tight. And I'd actually quit my job at the cable pulling place in order to come to my sister's wedding because they wouldn't give me time off. And I was like, this job fucking sucks. I'm out. Like, peace, bitch. Like I'm not about to like stay here and miss on my sister's fucking wedding.
Yeah.
And I was a bride's man, actually.
Hey, that's cool.
So I was wearing like the colors of the bridesmaids, but I was on the
girl side.
On the girl side.
Were you the only dude on the?
I was the dude on the girl side. Yeah.
That's cool.
It was tight. Yeah. She called me her bride's man. So I was like, all right. I'm down with that.
There we go. I like it.
And so got back to Kansas City, and I was like hunting around and job hunting and looking. And I guess through the grapevine, like my sister talked to her friend, and her friend talked to her husband, which is Aaron, and was like, hey, you should reach out to Aaron. I was like, oh yeah, cool. I want to go check out the Foundry. I've never seen it before. So I went and go check it out. And it was cool, man. It was like the coolest place I'd ever seen. It was like wild. I'm like, yo, this is tight. Because they did like really like high level like fine arts bronze work, and they had like a fabrication studio and like a casting studio and like a whole bunch of like really cool stuff. I was like, this is neat. And he's like, let's go get lunch. I'm like, all right. So went to get lunch. We were sitting there talking. He's like, hey, so I heard that like you're not working right now. I was like, no, I'm just kind of in between places. I don't know what to do. Yada yada whatever. He's like, okay, so here's the deal. He's like, I'm sick and tired of hiring people that think they know what they're doing. He's like, and I'm looking for someone who's teachable. He's like, are you interested? And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know anything about art. He's like, exactly. He's like, I want you to know nothing. He's like, I want to teach you how to do it the right way. Excuse me. He's like, because there is too many people that I hire that think they know what they're doing and fuck shit up. He's like, I want to teach you how to do it right.
Yeah, there's a weird thing with Starbucks. They don't like hiring people that have ever worked at another coffee shop.
Yeah.
Because they want someone to start from scratch and learn it their way.
Yeah.
Because too many people are like, I know how to make a latte. And you're like, no, you don't know how to make a fucking Starbucks latte.
Starbucks latte, it's different, which is funny because
different.
I worked at a Starbucks, so I know the whole training shit.
That's so funny.
Yeah, so he basically was like, all right, be here tomorrow, 7 o'clock with jeans and steel toe boots. And I was like, but why though? Like I still couldn't. He's like, listen, he's like, you have a desire to learn. You have strong work ethic. He's like, your sister talks good about you. He's like, my wife is friends with your sister and they tend to like you. So I'm going to take a risk and we'll see what happens. And he basically like apprenticed me for like a year and a half, taught me the whole thing. Like there's multiple parts, multiple sections of the process. I think it's like 9 or 10 sections, 9 or 10 parts. And I would be in one for a couple of months, and then be in the next for a couple of months, and then be in the next for a couple of months, and just be like an understudy / apprentice. And because my learning, the way I learn is hands-on.
Yeah.
The way I learn is by doing. The way I learn is by asking questions and trial and error. That's still how I learn today, is like have the humility to go, I don't know what I'm doing, teach me. I mean, there's frequently times where I'll be in situations where I know that most people my age should know this, right? I know that people with my skill set should know this, but I will happily go in and be like, hey, explain like I'm 5. Right, teach me.
Like what kind of stuff are you talking about?
I'm trying to think like the most recent thing I did that was like an explain like I'm 5.
I like that wording. Explain it like I'm 5.
Yeah, I wish I could remember off the top of my head, but it was like a typical like skill that you learn like in school. Right.
I gotcha. And so it just was like never came up, and now you're just like,
yeah, it never came up. I never needed to use it. I had no idea, but I know a bunch of people around me know how to do it. So I'm like, hey, explain it like I'm 5. And then boom, 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 explain it like I'm 5. I'm like, okay, cool, I got this.
Nice.
Right. So that's kind of my approach to a lot of things.
I feel
it's
you.
like,
I love that.
Teach me like I'm 5.
I like that though, because a lot of times you need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I work right now. I work at this escape game place. And have you ever played an escape game before? Like where you're
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so like basically it's like a team building activity, and what you do is we have these rooms set up with all these puzzles and stuff you have to like solve and everything. You have like a team of 8
So it's like real life Saw.
Yeah, it's like real life Saw, except it's not scary. It's like for companies to come in, they do team building, they try to like escape a room together. Anyways, but yeah, some of that stuff like in the debrief, I'm like explaining like, oh, they didn't finish the game. And so you have to like walk them through the steps. And sometimes people could not give a shit. They just want to get out of the room. And then sometimes people are like, they really want you to explain it to them. And they're like, seriously, I want to understand this. And like do it one more time. And I love that because I'm like, okay, let's start from the top. Step 1. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Now let's move on. Step 2.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay, let's start it again. Step 2. Does that make sense again? Okay, now step 3. Like I kind of love that because when people have the humility enough, because sometimes people are just like, I feel stupid. I want to get out of here. I don't even want to know it. I don't want this kid to explain it to me.
Right.
Because sometimes you're dealing with like the CEO of this company or whatever, you know?
And they think they know everything.
And they think they know everything. And then they get in this game and they feel dumb. And they don't ever want to feel dumb. And that's a huge flaw, I think. A lot of people don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to feel dumb. They want to feel like they know everything. And so anytime that there's a situation they're uncomfortable in like that, they just fight or flight, they just leave. Or get angry.
It's like an ego thing, right?
Totally.
So I know for me, because pretty much my whole life, I've gone through I don't know what I'm doing here. Please show me. I take that ignorance with humor, right? Like I love when people teach me. And it's even better when someone has like high levels of expertise of something that they've been working on for like 10 years. And I'm like, oh, can't wait to pick their brain.
Yeah.
You know, and then I like soak up, you know, so I took something that was a liability, which was, you know, being made up for being dumb, right? Or what school dumb, right?
Yeah.
Because I was street smart, fucking clever, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Life skills.
Obviously.
Genius, right? But like not book smart.
Yeah.
Which is silly because I've never needed any of those skills.
You're like
memorization and regurgitation of information that you will never apply in your life is completely a waste of brain space. Like that's totally unnecessary. Like keep utilities in your brain, not information about dates.
Like if you're gonna go become a chemist or something, sure, like memorize the periodic table. But why do I need to know that in 8th grade? You know what I mean? Like,
is that when you learn it? I don't know.
Like I literally had to like memorize the periodic table in 8th grade. I don't remember any of that shit.
Even still, like my spelling skills, not that great. But hey, guess what? I got an iPhone with a red line underneath it. I got Google. My math skills, not that great. But guess what? I've got a motherfucking calculator in my pocket on my phone. Okay, reading skills. I had to work really hard to get good on my reading skills. Like I couldn't read pretty much at all until like 12 or 13, right? But now like it's a read every day, like all the time. Like it's really intentional. And I'm sure I have plenty of like diagnosable whatever bullshits.
Yeah.
Right? But I just consider it personality. Right?
Exactly.
And just because you don't fit in someone else's box.
I hate diagnosis. Like I hate if a doctor's gonna like, because I've never been diagnosed with ADD or anything like that. Yeah. Chances are, if I went in somewhere, I'd probably get diagnosed with something like that.
You can get diagnosed with anything anywhere.
Yeah. And as soon as you get diagnosed, it's like, okay, well, it's not real. It's attention deficit disorder. It's not like a disease that you catch. It's like they're saying that there's a disorder within your brain, and it's like, who's to say that I'm the one with the disorder?
Out of order from what?
Yeah.
What are you out of order from?
Staying within the lines.
Staying within the lines. If you're having trouble focusing on school, and you're being disruptive and distractive in school, let's medicate you so you can fit into that box. Nah. Like, go put them somewhere else.
Exactly.
Like different personalities are designed for different skill sets.
Mm-hmm.
Again, when I talk about school being broken, school is fucking broken.
Oh, for sure.
Like it's ridiculous. And people that have like high IQ or people that have high EQ, right? They should not be in the same classroom, but they are, right? People that are more introverted and people that are more extroverted, people that are more enthusiastic, people that are more reserved, people that are more athletic, people that are more non-athletic. There's so much to personality. There's so much to the human mind. There's so much to it that it's like...
And there's so much you can change too.
Oh yeah, like the plasticity of the brain is ridiculous.
It is pretty gnarly. Yeah. And how much brain chemistry you can actually change. Like your brain is not just like you're thinking different, like your brain is different. Your brain's actually changed.
Yeah, and you can...
It's absurd.
And I've found that, like, so I have a pretty obsessive personality. Some people call it addictive personality. I call it obsessive because when I put my mind to something, I obsess over it to the point where I get results, right? And the results release dopamine, right? So I get happy and I feel really good, right? So you can addict yourself to anything, right? You can addict yourself to negativity. You can addict yourself to positivity. You can addict yourself to success, or you can addict yourself to failure, right? You can certainly set up an interesting like pain, pleasure, like reward, non-reward system in your brain, right? So I know for me, because I have a history of drug addiction, which is an unfortunate side effect of my accident, which we'll dive into here in a second.
Yeah, but that's all too common, man.
No, it's super common, and it was socially acceptable too. Like, oh, this kid's in a wheelchair. Oh, this kid's disabled. Oh, he's in pain. Like, sure, like let him be high 24/7, 7 days a week. Let him go see multiple doctors and get fucked up all the time, right? But that rewired my brain. That really did. That fucked with me hard because now I'm a pleasure seeker, right? And I can find pleasure seeking in a lot of bad places. Right? I choose not to go to those places. I choose not to do those things. But pleasure seeking can be seen through sex, through spending, through risky behavior, through like fast
video
driving,
games.
through video games, through food, right? Like pleasure seeking can be found. And a lot of people that...
Possessions,
that's what I'm saying. Like spending money, having possessions. Like,
yeah.
So I have found a way to get pleasure from like productive things, like positive things, like completing tasks or creating art, or coaching and helping people in their life, or coaching and helping myself in my own life, or growing and developing, or my favorite fucking thing in the world is cultivating relationships. I love getting to know people below, like,
surface level.
Way below surface. Like not, so there's like, you know, your typical like group settings, right? And then there's your activity settings, and then there's like the occasional one-on-one, but I'm talking like deep.
Like we're sitting on a campfire talking about deep shit.
Like motherfucking intimacy here. Like straight up like disconnected from the world, disconnected from other things, hardcore next level questions, right? And I think the best way to understand people, right, is to also understand their pain, right? But you can't, that's not a surface conversation. There has to be a rapport built. There has to be trust built. You know, I can't be like, hey, so what fucked up thing happened to you in your childhood?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why do you act that way? Like, I can't ask that unless we already are like tight, are already close.
Yeah.
Right? Or I see like a weird coping behavior, coping mechanism you have, or something that I have. I'm like, hey, I do that too. Like, why do you do that?
Yeah.
Right? Like, those are the type of things that I don't know where I got on this bunny trail. I get on rants sometimes.
No, dude, I love it.
But yeah, cultivating relationships is something that's super important. And so let's try to get back on this track here. After working at the bronze foundry, right? So
yeah.
I got pretty good to the point where he was like, hey.
So they're like they're like making like sculptures and all. What kind of stuff are they making there? Or like what kind of stuff are they doing?
I'm gonna plug them right now because it's awesome. Eligius Bronze, Eligius Bronze. Go check them out. They do. You can check out their Instagram. You can check out their Facebook page. You can check out their website. But it's like high-end, top quality, like beautiful, timeless works of art.
Huh.
Right. So they themselves have their own line, but they primarily work with other artists. Like for example, this project I'm working on right now. Although the materials that we're using is not bronze, I can send that mold to them.
And they could make it out of bronze.
And they can make a bronze one for me, which we're going to do. That's a part of the plan.
Sweet.
We're going to make a bronze version.
Nice.
Right, so it's kind of interesting how we're like back in business relationship, but it's a different kind of relationship. But he totally mentored me and like took me over. And one day he was like, hey man, you're better than here. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I want you to go and start looking for places and grow and develop and maybe go to a college, etc. He's like, you're kind of better than here.
For art stuff? Or
yeah, because I was creating art for other people, right? Right. So that's when you're in a production foundry, you're doing other people's art.
Which is a weird concept of art. People don't, a lot of people, especially, like I didn't realize this until a few years ago, like when it's like, oh, this is a piece by this guy. But it's like, he might have not even touched it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's very odd.
Exactly.
What constitutes as theirs then if you made it?
they made the original.
They made the original.
They made one.
And then you're just making a mold copy or whatever.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Making multiples.
Gotcha. Yeah, because like for example, like you know this. He's not really a street artist. Cause.
Yeah.
Yeah. He like makes this.
Yeah.
He makes this giant like.
He has apprentices. He has like 100+ apprentices.
Oh, for sure.
Like he goes into a warehouse and he's like, he'll bring in like a blueprint and be like, make this.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, that's so badass to me because I'm
and that's the big question of what is art, right?
Yeah, that is a weird question.
Yeah, but like even in a production standpoint, it's still handmade, right? It's just other hands making it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is quite an interesting concept. But anyway, so you started looking at other places.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
my oldest sister already lived in Atlanta, and there's a school here called SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, the Atlanta campus, and they had a really cool sculpture program, and I was like, tight, I'm gonna go check this out. So I dropped ITT Tech like it was motherfucking hot. I dropped that shit hard. I was like, no, thank you. Like, I am done not wanting to learn here. Like, it was
What were you doing there?
It was like night school, and it was like the really bad teachers that like hated their life and hated their jobs. And
what was your like proposed major?
Computer and electronic engineering, the CET, basically like building circuit boards, and it was fucking bullshit.
Like, why did you feel the need to go to college? Because did your parents push you?
No, my mom has never pushed me ever. Like,
yeah.
So it was like a combination of social acceptability, like what's next, right? Like I see all my friends, like they're going to college, like that's the next thing that happens, right? Like what's next?
You just think it's like the next step to go.
Yeah, and I always been like a tinkerer, and I always been a builder. Like when I was playing competition paintball, like tournament level paintball, I used to like build and modify and like play with the guns and the electronics and the pneumatic systems, right? There was a time in my life where I was real heavy into street racing, and I would do like all the engines and add turbo upgrades and suspensions.
What'd you drive?
At the time was like a 91 Integra, and then I also had a 93 EG hatch, like a Civic hatch.
Nice.
Yeah, one was my daily driver and one was my not daily driver.
That's awesome.
The not daily driver was way fast.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like a 12.2.
That's so sick.
Yeah, it was like a gutted and stripped EG hatch.
Weight saving.
Yeah, we had
to
like
the max.
Yeah, we had like one racing seat and like a fuel cell in the back. We had a 1.5 block with a 1.6 VTEC head on it, so it stroked it out to like a 1.8. It was a single hill rear cam, and then we put like a big old fat Goretti turbo on it that we turned the boost up so high we'd blow the head gasket every night we raced. Like that's when we knew our night was over. We would race until we blew the head gasket.
And you're like, all right, time to go.
We'd get like 5 to 8 races in, and then be like, oh shit, we're leaking water, time to go. Like,
dude, that's so funny. So like this was in Kansas?
Yeah, in Kansas City, yeah. There's a big street racing scene in Kansas City. Huge street racing scene.
So I'm curious, because I actually, one time when I was in Colorado, I went out, my buddy, he had a Mazda Speed 3 that was like slammed and like all kinds of crazy mods to it. And he went to this like car meetup where they were supposed to meet up at this one place, and then basically no one knew the final destination until they announced it at the place or something like that. So cops couldn't track where you were going to go.
Different cities operate differently.
Yeah.
Right. So like Texas street racing is different from Kansas City street racing, which is different from LA street racing. Like each one per their area do it a different way depending on their environments, depending on where they race, depending on what the police presence is, right?
Yeah.
So in Kansas, we would do a big thing called cruises, where we would, like hundreds of us would go out on the road.
Just mob.
And just cruise the highways, and then like cars would get beside each other and beep, beep, beep. They would race, and then they would fall back, and then more people would come in. So cruising was like a big thing.
And that's really hard for police to monitor because there's literally hundreds of you.
Yeah, and you can't pull over hundreds of us.
Yeah.
You know?
That's gnarly. How would you get in trouble though doing that? They would just pull people over one by one, or like?
Yeah, occasionally if they catch us. They would never, like, they would always.
But you'd normally be racing from what, like 30 miles an hour, 20 miles an hour to 100?
Or more.
Yeah.
Or more, way more.
Nice, so you kind of slow down, beep, 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 and then get up super fast?
Yeah, so those were kind of the big cruises. And then on the rare occasion, so you know how Atlanta has like the largest inbound dispatch or traffic for freight for plane? Kansas City has the biggest, I'm not using the right word right now, biggest area where they move freight in and out via railroad.
Okay, gotcha. Like the biggest railroad hub.
Thank you, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, there's a bunch of railroads that they meet there.
Gotcha.
And occasionally, like once, like maybe 4 times a year, a Saturday night to a Sunday morning, there would be no freight, there'd be no security, and the whole area is made for semis, so there's shit tons of road space. Like long, straight, fast. We could do quarter-mile races, we could do half-mile races, we could do roll races, and if security came, which it was only security, it was never cops, because cops didn't give a shit about the area, because there was no one to hurt. So if we like wrecked or crashed,
you were just hurting yourself.
Hurting ourselves or hurting other people. You know, like it was never, they'd be like, they're just doing railroad bullshit. Right? Like that, fuck them, right? And that was always the best nights, because that's when the big call outs would come. Like shop owners would face off against other shop owners. that had like really fast cars. And there was always like, there was a big online presence. We had a website like kansascitystreetracing.org where we would like pre-Facebook, like back and forth, just like shit talk and do call outs and like talk about builds. And
would people ever like race for like other people's cars and shit like you see in the movies?
So it was usually money, not cars, but occasionally cars were involved.
Racing for pinks, bro.
Yeah,
Pink slips,
it was usually for cash.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, because you would have an escrow, you'd have a middleman, right? So if Jesse was calling out Chris, everyone would pay Chung, and Chung would hold on to the cash, and then they'd race, and then Chung would pay out the winner, right? So it was kind of a...
That's interesting.
And I just threw out those names. Those are just...
I like Chung.
Yeah, no, Chung owned a shop. Chung was gangsters, but...
That's awesome.
Chung had really fast cars, like stupid fast. Like he like used to engineer and like build his own tech for his vehicles. Whoa. That like he would break world records in his cars. Like they were gnarly.
That's crazy awesome.
But those nights were always the wildest and always the craziest. But that's where I got a lot of like my building, my tinkering skills. Like, so I thought, like, let me apply this to something that'll make me a lot of money. Like, okay, the tech industry's got a lot of money. Like, let me take my building and tinkering skills there.
And that's why you went to ITT Tech?
Yeah, that's why I went to ITT Tech. Yeah, and even before that, I was like working on bikes in the neighborhoods and building dirt ramps. And
you said you're into BMX too.
Yeah, and I would like any electronics that broke, like I could find a way to fix it. Like I don't know, I just had like the magic touch. Like my brain works like look for the problem. If there's the problem, replace the problem. It's problem solved. So at that point, I took all those skills, and those skills got applied into art. So I've got like a business savvy background with a non-traditional like tinkering background, which has an art background. So I've got this weird mix, right? So because like most artists are bad business people, most business people are bad artists. I'm like both, right? I'm really lucky because I've got the skills on both ends.
And some people are bad artists and bad business people.
And some people are bad artists and good business people.
And they make a lot of money.
Shit tons of money.
It's very true.
So much money. I saw some artists, I'm like, oh my God, you're terrible, but you know how to make some money. Like you're
tricking people.
And I don't know about trick, just like smart about it, you know? Like there's definitely an interesting mix. So I kind of got that background, and then I went to SCAD, and it took me like a year to get into SCAD.
Because you have to have like a portfolio and stuff for to get accepted.
I had a portfolio. That wasn't the problem. I got artistic honor scholarship because I used a lot of the portfolio pieces from the bronze foundry I worked at.
So anything you worked on, you were allowed to use in your portfolio, kind of?
Yeah, as long as I didn't take the credit, right? I was like, this is from this artist, but I was the one who assembled it, right? This was from this artist, but I was the one who did the patina on it. Like this was from this artist. So I didn't say like, this is mine, I did this.
Yeah.
Right, this is like, I worked on this project. Like my hands got involved. Like I did the mold on this one, or I did the patina on this one, or I fabricated this one. It was never like, that's mine, I did it. Like, because that wasn't true. And it took me like a year to get in because I had to take my ACTs and SATs.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't do good on those because my schooling background is like not a thing.
The SAT is hilarious. Like I literally took an SAT class to learn how to take the SAT better. It's so silly. It's like, why should I be taking this random class to take the SAT better when this is the only reason for taking the class is to get a good grade on the SAT? Like, there's no real skill or like...
It didn't make a lot of sense, but I totally like bombed the first time, and then the second time I got like a 17 out of a 36, which is tragically low. Maybe it was like a 19, but I was like, yeah, the minimum to get into SCAD is 16, fuck yeah, like this works, like woo. And I was working like at a Starbucks at the time, and I was working as a valet at the time too, and this was before my injury, so I was also like still doing like a lot of tournament athletics and like working out and training with like bodybuilders and like figure competitors. Like this one woman named Megan May, who's like 10 years older than me, like took me under her wing. She was like a pro card carrying like figure competitor, like heavy. And I was like 18 or 19 and like just getting into like the workout scene. So her and I were like at the same level as far as like strength goes.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so like we would work out together, like tag team. Like it was so much fun because I was like, this girl's a badass and she's keeping up with me, and she'd be like, this dude's keeping up with me, you know, like it was a nice dynamic.
That's super cool.
And she was a bit older than me too, so she like took me under her wing and like mentored me, and like it was not like it was a very like friendship based. Like she was married, and her husband was like out of town a lot because he worked, but she would like bring me pancakes, like because she lived on one of the roads that I like valeted on, and that's how I got to that's how I met her. She used to skip like back and forth between her house and the gym. She used to skip. I'm like, just for fun? Like, what is this full-grown adult woman doing skipping, right? So we would always just like chit-chat and do little dumb banter. And she's like, you can come work out with me at the gym sometime. And I was like, well, I got this gym that I work out at. She's like, no, come play with me. I was like, okay. And then that relationship developed, and then that was really cool. So I was working real hard at that, and then so 2010, January 18, 2010. Is when I had my accident, right?
Yeah.
And that is a story. It's not too long. It's not too complicated. But it was Martin Luther King Day. I didn't like pay attention to that. I was just out with my friends, and I was like, it's Monday. It's time to work out, right? So like in the morning, like took my pre-workout, and at the time I was working out at my school gym at SCAD, and so I was like. I went there and I got there and it was closed. And I was gonna meet a friend there, and I called him. I was like, hey dude, it's closed, but I'm gonna go for a run. I'll be back. So I went for a run, and I can't get too much into the details, but there's a lot of underground parking decks here in Atlanta. And as a result of some architectural error, I fell into an underground parking deck.
Whoa.
In between a road, a sidewalk, and like the parking entrance. There was like a very small area that I fell in, and 50 feet, and dropped down 50 feet. So luckily,
whoa,
you have the best face right now.
Dude, that's gnarly, because I'm just trying to picture that.
Yeah, so it was wild. I mean, I got to, like, there was a Publix video camera that like saw like it happen, and it's crazy. So
holy crap.
And I was fully conscious and fully aware the whole time. I didn't realize how far it was. Like keep going. So in my head, you know how when you jump from like the top of the stairs, and you normally don't jump from all the way at the top of the stairs, and it just stings a little bit?
Yeah.
That's what I thought was gonna happen. Like I didn't realize how high it was. Because when you're falling, it happens so fast. But luckily I had some like gymnastics training. I had a friend in Kansas City who used to teach like competitive, like high level like girl cheerleaders. So at night when they all left, we could go and we'd flip, right? We'd go flip around, we'd jump in and out of stuff, we'd do tricks, we'd just play in this gymnastics area. So I developed a really good like air sense, or like I knew where my body was. Yeah. Right? And I managed to land on my feet, like perfect timing. And it immediately broke both my legs, like snapped them. Whoa. I landed on my butt from there, and that sent a big shockwave up my spine and blew out multiple vertebrae. One of the vertebrae blew out so hard it actually hit my spinal cord, and it didn't sever the spinal cord, but it damaged it to the point of paralysis.
Wow.
My sternum got split open. My left elbow got smashed into 50 different pieces. Like they did a case study, like Emory Orthopedics came in and they were so excited. They were like, we don't see this type of fractures on living bodies. We're so excited to be able to actually do an operation on a living body that has a fracture this big. And I was like, great.
Cool, can you fix me?
Right. So,
doctors like nerd out on your injuries. They're like, oh dude, this is fucking awesome. It's fucking lit, bro. Dude, you have no idea. We've only read about this in medical books, man. We get to do it on a living body. We've been monitoring this 50-foot hole for weeks.
That's fucked up.
I know.
It's so fucked up.
I know.
So, yeah, man, I ended up at Grady, and thank goodness for Grady. They got like the highest level trauma unit available, like period, like almost in the world. Like Grady's good. After trauma, not so good, but during trauma, really good. But the end result.
So who found you? Like, how did you even get?
Some people that were walking on the sidewalk. They're like,
they just saw you fall.
They're like, oh, that dude just fell in that hole. Like, let's go make sure he didn't twist his ankle or something. And then they like looked down, and it was like,
holy shit.
Yeah.
So wait, so how? I mean, obviously you said you couldn't really get into details, but like, how was the?
So you know how
I'm trying to picture like what it was like.
You know, like in parking decks, they have like exhaust, like built into the architecture, like to let the exhaust fumes out. There's like little shafts and tunnels that look like little pizza slices.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a way for the air to get in and out, so no one dies of carbon monoxide poisoning. Right. It was one of those.
Gotcha.
Right.
And you just like fell right into it while you were running.
Yeah. It's more complicated than that, but yeah.
Okay.
But basically, yeah, I fell into it.
That's crazy. So people were like, "Oh, dude, this guy just like fell down this little hole." And
Yeah,
then
they thought it was like this a little baby thing, like.
That's crazy.
Whatever. So they saw me, and it took a while. I was in and out of consciousness. Like I knew something was wrong, right? Because I couldn't sit up, and I felt my legs kind of like flopped off to the side, and I couldn't control them. I didn't really know, right? But I knew.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, my life is gone now. Like it's changed forever.
Whoa.
And so eventually they came and picked me up, and I remember one of the things, they cutting the clothes off you, and I'm in and out of consciousness, and I was like, let me sit up, I want to see my feet, because like I felt them like flopped up and like dangling off to the side. And they're like, nah, dude. And one of the EMTs is like, hey, do we cut off your shoes? And then I heard another one go, no, don't do that. That's the only thing holding his feet on. And that's when I blacked out.
Whoa.
Yeah, so that's just a fucking interesting thing to hear.
Yeah, what do they mean is the only thing holding your feet on? Like they'd
I don't know. Like I guess like all the bones and all the cartilage and all the skin and like the shoe was like keeping everything together.
That makes sense, I guess. Because everything was fractured in your foot.
Everything was just like dust.
Oh gosh.
It's crazy. So I got a lot of hardware in my legs.
I was gonna say, so what was the procedure like that they had to do?
So luckily, no internal injuries.
Wow.
No brain injuries. Thank fuck.
Yeah.
Because I should be dead. Like I should be dead like 1,000 times over. I should be dead. Like people fall from 10 feet and they're dead. Okay, I fell from 50, not dead.
That's crazy.
So it's amazing.
Yeah. Because like this ceiling's what, like 25?
Yeah,
maybe more.
I don't know.
I'm trying to picture.
Let's call it 25. Let's call it 25.
Yeah. That's so gnarly. So even higher than that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, much higher.
And just free falling. That's so crazy.
And I mean, luckily I had airspace, right? Luckily I had air awareness. Luckily I knew how to position myself in a way to fall with the least damage. Because playing around the gymnastics gym, especially with a high level coach, he teaches you how to do some cool shit. So I thought, I'll just hit and roll out of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it'll sting a little bit and I'll just roll right out of it.
Yeah.
Nah.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
Didn't roll out of it.
Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so went in there and they did a bunch of orthopedic operations, right? They put my ankles and my lower legs back together. They put my elbow back together. They fused my spine from basically the lowest rib that I have all the way down to my hips. So what
does that mean? It can't move?
It's like wearing two weight belts at the same time. Like it's my torso is in place.
I see.
So if you know much about medical stuff, which your listeners might, so fused from T12 to L4, L2 called a quanta chance, right? Or chance. I don't know how to pronounce it. But
that's interesting.
Yeah, that was kind of. So my level of injury is at L2 as well, which is again fortunate because the higher the level of injury, the more nervous system is affected, right? Yeah. Like if it's up towards my chest, then all my abdomen wouldn't work.
Yeah.
If it's up towards my neck, then my shoulders and my hands and my arms wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Those are called quadriplegics because all four of their limbs
are not
working, right?
And paraplegic is like
two limbs, right?
Yeah.
So I
actually had a guy, Brandon Winfield. He was on my podcast. He is paraplegic as well.
Okay, cool.
So we kind of talked a little bit about that. He had a dirt biking injury.
Yeah. ATVs and dirt bikes cause a lot of spinal cord injuries.
Yeah, for sure.
So does diving causes a lot of spinal cord injuries.
Yes. But I've had a couple podcasts with
car accidents.
Yeah, definitely. I've had a couple podcasts with chiropractors, and during one of them, he actually had a poster on his wall that showed on the spine like what parts affect what.
Yeah.
And so it made a lot of sense because like the higher up in the spine, it controls the higher up stuff. The lower parts of the spine control the lower stuff.
Yeah, and the higher it is, the more like your organs get messed up and your digestion gets messed up and your ability to sweat and have perception messed up and like it's gnarly for the people that are higher up.
Your ability to sweat.
Yeah, like some people don't know how to, like their body temperature control doesn't work.
Whoa.
Yeah, so they have to use like blankets and like ice packs to like monitor their own body temperature.
I didn't even ever think of that. That's fascinating, actually.
Yeah, the nervous system controls fucking everything in your body, right?
Yeah.
So like even for me, like from the hips down, yeah, I still got a whole lot of stuff down there that works either correctly or not correctly, right? That's not just muscles, it's not just legs, right? But it's all about adapting and finding ways that work for you and managing your digestive system and managing what you drink and what you don't drink and managing your, physical life and, shit like that. So it's all about finding solutions. It's not the end of the world for everything.
Exactly. So you severed it, but what happened with your spinal cord?
So to use
it wasn't completely cut.
To use an analogy, right? So it would be like karate chopping a banana, right? It did cut the banana in half, but it mashed it a lot, right? So it would be like taking like an 8-lane superhighway and knocking it down to a 1-lane, right? So
things can still work, just not nearly as effectively.
Right. So for example, like my right glute is really weak. My left glute is pretty strong. My right quad is strong. My left quad is super weak, right? My right calf is weak, but my left calf is strong, right? I don't have temperature sensation. I don't have soft touch sensation, but I do have heavy touch sensation, and I have proprioception, which means I know where my feet are without having to look at them. Right? So there's a lot of atrophy as a result of the nerves not being there, right?
Yeah.
But what's really fucking cool is when I got cleaned up off all the opiate painkillers and stopped poisoning myself, my body was like, oh shit, let's heal. So I started like walking around with like a leg brace and like 2 crutches, and doing the best I could in that environment.
Did you ever feel like self-conscious with that, like in, walking around? Because obviously like...
Yeah, I mean, the thing is like in the chair, that's like a whole thing. Like people treat you so much differently in a chair. People say sorry to you for like what are you sorry for? Like I literally I can make eye contact with people. Like I'll just be like in Target.
Oh, shit.
I'll just be like in Target minding my own business and people like will make eye contact. Ooh, sorry. And I'm like, what the fuck are you sorry for? What are you sorry for? Like
looking at me?
Like what? Like I'm not in your way, you're not in my way. Oh man, and then even like the people that like, oh my god, this is just me on my little pet peeve shit right now. Like the people that try to help, but as they're helping, they get in my fucking way and make it harder for me. And like I have to be kind because like I have a rule, like I'm not rude to people that are trying to be helpful, whether they're not helpful or not. So like I smile and say thank you, but in my head I'm like, get the fuck out of my way. Like people that will open up a door while standing in the doorway, I'm like, move! Like, get the fuck out of my fucking way! But I say, thank you, like, thank you. Yeah. Like, there's so much like weird subtleties and like body language and like, it's odd, man. Like, and I think it's because it's like such a taboo thing. Well, not taboo, it's just not enough people know about it, right?
Exactly.
Like what you know about disability is more than likely what you've seen on the TV, right? And that's wrong, right? And the reality is like, for me, even from the beginning, the best help is no help. Like I want my independence. Like I fought hard for that shit. Like I want the help of no one. Like I want to be able to do it on my own. I want that freedom. I want that independence, right? So like my first couple of months of recovery, like I had like some, I had the ability to stand, but like with heavy braces, right? Like multiple braces and like, I didn't want to like strap all that shit on. I didn't want to have 2 crutches where I had no ability to use my hands. I didn't want to be able to walk slow. I didn't want to have to like install this fucking brace every time I went places. It was clunky, it was lunky, it was just bullshit. So I said, fuck it. I'm gonna accept my reality for what it is. For now, I'm gonna use this chair. I'm gonna use this chair as a tool, right? To get me around, right? So I accepted it and I got back to school and I got back to work in a matter of like 9 months, which is incredibly fast for someone who went through like a crazy, gnarly, hardcore traumatic injury like that.
Yeah.
And I got back to school, got back to work, and was fiercely independent as much as possible. And at that time, I got an opportunity to do a really fucking cool project with a Marine firefighter. So I was in the sculpture department, and the lead sculpture department at SCAD was like, hey, I want you to meet CJ. CJ's a Marine firefighter. And I was like, oh, hey, CJ, I'm Richard. Nice to meet you. And she was like, Richard has production background and history, and you're looking for someone to do some production work for this memorial, right? He's like, yeah, I need someone that knows what the fuck they're doing. And it's like, Richard knows what he's doing.
Nice. So
they mashed us together, and then over the summer in 2011, he and I built like volunteer time, like donated parts and materials. We worked at the Cobb County Fire Department, and we built this like gorgeous fucking 9/11 memorial that even had like a piece of the steel from one of the towers. And
That's really cool.
It's in Tucker, which is
nice.
For those listeners, that's like a suburb in Georgia.
Yeah.
It's the DeKalb County 9/11 Memorial, and that was fucking incredible. And I put like all my time and all my attention into it, and like really like berserkly was going at it. And it was in that moment that I was like, what the fuck am I doing in school? This is the third time I'm back in school, right? The first time was for ITC Tech, didn't really like need that. Second time was like getting into SCAD and doing that as an able-bodied person. And I did a really good job, and I would get frustrated and annoyed because like I want to learn when I want to learn. I don't want to learn when you tell me when to learn. Like I'll fucking get to it. Like I'm gonna do it when I do it. My life is still like that to that way. Even when I set like goals for myself or like standards in myself, I'm like, all right, today, Richard, you're gonna do this, 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 and this, and this. But when I do it, that's up to me. Like I decide, right? So even though I'm accountable to myself, I still have this kind of like, I'll do it when I feel like it. I'll do it when there's room for it. And then, you know, I went back after the disability and managed to modify a way around doing the fabrication stuff again in a chair and doing the classes and the stuff in the chair and problem solving with stuff like that. And I was like, you know, I'm smarter than this. Like I'm better than this. I'm pretty sure I can do this without having to whatever. I was like, so this is
pay all this money and being
pay all this money to teach the fucking professors how to do shit that they should be teaching me, but like I already know how to do it. So
you've worked in this.
So I'm showing them better ways to do it. And they're like, oh, well, that's amazing, Richard. Thank you for sharing with that. And then they teach that to the whole class, and I'm like, I'm paying you a lot of money. Like, I'm paying you a lot of money for me to teach you how to teach other people. Like that, I'm not cool with that right now.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah, and so at the time, I thought to myself, okay, like let me get like a real job for a minute, and then I'll do like the same shit at the same time, right? So I found a buddy who worked at Apple. He gave me a referral. I went through the whole interview process, and I started working for Apple, which is like, that's a high level company to work for.
Yeah.
Like
even you working in Georgia?
Retail level, but
okay, cool.
It was in Muller, Georgia, and at Linux. And at the same time, right? So this is where it gets gnarly, right? Addiction is progressive, right?
Yeah.
It's never I like wake up one day and I'm like, I want to be a fucking drug addict, right? It's never like that. It always starts with, oh, I'm in some pain. Let me get a little bit of this. Oh, let me up the dose. Let me do this. Let me do that. Well, after I finished that art project and I started working at Apple, that's when it started to progress. That's when I started seeking out higher doses. That's when I started seeking out different doctors.
Where was the pain coming from?
Good question. Everywhere. Like
just your whole body was
like
in pain?
I still deal with a lot of fucking pain, bro. Like let me tell you. But I have transitioned. Is
it going to be chronic, like forever?
Yeah, it's nerve pain, right? And nerve pain is tricky and complicated because it ebbs and flows.
What causes it? Like because it's
the spinal cord damage.
So your spine's just like, yo, something's fucked up, like constantly, and just telling your nerves like pain response, basically.
So basically, it's like you ever jump started a car, right? And and you touch the but if you hold them together, the currency goes through it, right? So it's kind of like it's like sparking and igniting, and it depends on what I do. Like if I do like a certain like leg move at the gym, that will fire it off more than other, right? If I stand too much during the day, or if I sit in the car too much during the day, or like depending on what food I eat, like there's a lot of weird fucking factors.
Yeah.
Like if I'm hydrated or not hydrated, like there's something about nerve pain that's just a fucking asshole, right? But there's multiple ways to get around it, right? There's things like socialization, there's things like meditation, there's things like nerve pain medication, there's things like stretching, there's working out, eating right. There's a lot of ways to manage it, right? And currently I manage it without any narcotics, right?
That's impressive.
But at the time I was a rookie, and physicians don't know how to deal with spinal cord injuries, so they just give you opiates. And
sounds logical.
Right. So for like, and so basically I became a fucking prescription grade heroin addict. Right. And I acted like a heroin addict. I was isolated. I was dirty. I was in my room. Like I had pushed all my friends and family away from me. I was neglecting my life, neglecting my lifestyle. Like I wasn't cleaning myself. I was suicidal. I was depressed.
Wow.
I was anxious. I was angry. I was not in a good place.
Yeah.
My mental health, my physical health, my emotional health. I was seeing multiple doctors. I was lying. I was manipulating. I was going to multiple pharmacies. Like,
and now they have systems in place where like all the pharmacies talk to each other, right?
Oh no, there's ways around that shit. Like, and because I had multiple insurances, right? I had like one through my mom, one through my job, and one through the government, right? So I had 3 different insurance.
So you could get 3 different scripts through those 3?
3 different scripts from 3 different doctors from 3 different pharmacies.
Wow.
And I was like maxed out with like 3 different physicians. Like the amount of drugs I was on, per month, per doctor, which I would eat them all in like 10 days. Like,
I like the phrase "eat drugs." I think like eating drugs, that's what you're doing. But a lot of people say like take drugs, but you're like, I would eat them all in 10 days. Like they
no,
were food.
Straight up. Like I would get a 30-day supply from Dr. A, eat them all in 10 days. Go to Dr. B, get a 30-day supply, eat them all in 10 days. Go to Dr. C, get another 30-day supply, eat them all in 10 days. But each one was giving me 3 or 4 prescriptions that were high-level shit, things like fentanyl and OxyContin, Percocets, and even benzos and barbiturates and like things for anxiety. Like I was like the king motherfucking manipulator, and I could play the card like, oh, pity me, like, oh, I need this, and can you help me? Yeah, dude, I played it up, and what's
and people do feel bad because
they do feel bad, and they don't know how to treat it, right? And there's this weird social acceptability. Like I mentioned that earlier. There's this social acceptability, like, oh, he doesn't have a job, like, oh, he's depressed. Oh, he lives in the fucking dingy, shitty basement. Oh, he smells really bad. Oh, his hair's all fucked up. Oh, he doesn't eat that much food, no big deal. Like, he's just a disabled dude, like, living his life. Like, it's cool that he, like, smokes pot 24/7 and eats, fucking 90 days worth of scripts in 30 days. More than they even give a fucking, like, dying cancer patients don't even get half of what I had.
That's so insane, man.
Like,
it's crazy.
It's fucked up, right? So, like, my mental health deteriorated.
Course.
And it got to the point where I went fucking crazy, like legit psychosis, like gnarly, because I was up and down and left and right, and like I was on amphetamines and barbiturates and benzos and fucking psychotics and opiates, like all at the same time. I was like the most wicked cocktail, right? I wasn't eating, I wasn't sleeping, like I was going crazy.
What kind of crazy? Like you're going crazy. Like what kind of weird stuff were you doing?
Drug-induced like hallucinations, like paranoia, aggression, risky behavior, like very close to what like a individual with like bipolar episode, like a high level drug-induced bipolar episode, like gnarly, like to the point where multiple times the police got involved and I got institutionalized, and then I got out by lying and manipulating, and then I was institutionalized again in like...
What does institutionalized mean exactly?
Mental health hospital.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, like mental health hospital, yeah.
Wow.
And...
dude, that's a common theme with addicts though, and people that abuse drugs is that they're master manipulators.
Oh, fuck yeah. And we're smart. We're real fucking smart, right?
Totally.
But when you start using that for good instead of for damaging yourself, like I use a lot of like the finesse that I learned in like my business world, like in my business life, like a lot of that finesse in the art world, a lot of language, a lot of conversation, a lot of like, it's interesting how like you look back at like all the shit times in your life and all the hard times and like coping skills that you've learned and like things that you do and that you did that were like really terrible and bad and destructive for you, but now they're like super hardcore assets.
Yeah.
Right?
It is crazy.
And I don't like think the word like manipulation is always a bad word,
no.
Right? Kind of like the word consequence, like it can mean a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Because manipulating a piece of art, like you're manipulating a certain material to make something cool, or you're manipulating a situation to make it better than it was,
but
or whatever.
It's a type of creativity, and it's a type of creativity that involves multiple parties. Like. And you have to have a really good memory because you have to remember what lies you told and who you told it to and how you told it to, right? There's a lot of shit.
You gotta keep it all straight.
Yeah, you gotta keep that shit straight. And
something's happening.
Yeah,
it's all good.
It sounds like a train, but we're not anywhere near a train.
Maybe it was the green train from your childhood basement.
Yo, bringing that up. So, yeah, so it got to the point where like I was institutionalized and stabilized and then managed to get my way out. And I like lied to my family. I was like, yeah, I'll go to the treatment thing. Like, yeah, I'll do the thing. Like, yeah, you can trust me, you can believe me. Like, I'm clean now, like whatever. But I like immediately started smoking pot. I immediately stopped taking my medication. And
pot smoking's a weird one too, because people will. There's weird things about it because some people are like, yeah, I'm sober, but I still smoke pot, or like, yeah,
not for me.
Yeah,
not for me though. Yeah. It's heavily psychotic for me.
Interesting.
Right, and especially a lot of the strains that are coming out right now, they've got more THC than CBD. So THC is the part that gets you high. CBD is the part that keeps you sane. So if you've got a 10-to-1 ratio of THC to CBD, you're going to put yourself in psychosis. It's called weed psychosis for a reason because it's a hallucinogen.
Especially if you're ingesting it rather than smoking.
Absolutely,
it too.
And it's all that shit that's made in a lab these days, right? It's made underground, not in the sun, in a lab with fucking chemicals, and it comes out as a plant. Yeah, it looks good, but it's about to fuck your life up, and you can't properly dose.
Yeah,
and I'm sure I might get a lot of comments from people saying,
"Hey, it's all good." I've definitely got some people that might be listening to this that are in that industry, and they'll say all kinds of stuff. But
the thing is, this is just my experience. This is my reality for me. It's not for everybody else.
Exactly.
I understand that THC and CBD has a utility for some people, and it's really good for a lot of people. But for me, I can't do it, right? But like a seizure patient, gangster, give it to them. A person that's dying of cancer, fuck yeah, give it to them so they can eat. Yeah, good for them. Right,
exactly.
someone who suffers from PTSD, someone who suffers from brain injury. Oh yeah, go for them. But I can't do that shit. That's not my reality. My reality is like I have to be all or nothing. Like I don't drink alcohol. I make sure I'm really careful about the amount of stimulants that I take in. I have to make sure I monitor my sleep and monitor my food. I also take medications because putting so much shit in my brain for so many years. Some of my receptors don't fire or receive how they're supposed to. It's like dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine. Those parts of my brain don't function properly. So I take medication in order to get them back to normal. Right?
What are those types of drugs? Not the names necessarily, but what category of drugs is that?
One would be like a mood stabilizer, one's an antidepressant, and one's like a sleeping medication. Right? And they just equalize basically.
It makes your brain like at a baseline kind of?
Yeah, it just baselines it. It gives the ability, because when you externally put in drugs, your brain stops making those drugs. And if you do that over a very long period of time,
it kills the factory.
It shuts off the hoses, it turns down the lines, it rots away.
Yeah, because there's no point for it to exist.
Doesn't need to exist.
Because it's like, hey, we're getting this from somewhere else.
We don't need it anymore. Fuck it. We out. So
I like to imagine like little workers in the van like, fuck all this, I'm out.
It'd be like, hey, package delivery guy. I'd be like, we ain't had a package all month. I'm quitting this bitch. I'm trying to deliver this norepinephrine over here to Mr. Serotonin, but none of them are there. We got all these motherfucking tourists in here, right?
Tourists. That's amazing. That's such a good analogy. I love that.
Yeah, dude. And so they shut that shit down. And yeah, the brain is plastic and the brain can heal over the long term. But for me, it's like something I gotta be like super cautious and super careful of. And I stay involved with a therapist and stay involved with a psychiatrist.
How long have you been sober?
So it'll be 3 years in November.
That's awesome, man.
3 years.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
It's like seriously really cool.
It's been one of the hardest fucking things I've ever done in my life.
Of course. Like, what were the withdrawals like from all of that? I mean, obviously,
you can't explain it unless you experience it.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
was it? Do you think? I mean, obviously, it's two different things, but like the pain that you've experienced through your accident and everything versus like pains and withdrawals, is it comparable? Is it different? I mean, obviously,
addiction is harder than disability, I think.
Wow.
And disability is one of the hardest things I've ever done, but addiction's worse.
Whoa.
Right. So
that's a sobering fact, though.
Yeah. The reality is like with my disability, like there was times of in and out. There was times of consciousness. There was times of acceptance. There was times of control. Right. And disability fucked me up mentally too, because my future was stolen from me, right? All the dreams and goals and ambitions I planned for my life.
Especially like you were getting into fitness and bodybuilding and all that kind of stuff.
For my life fucking gone. Like, boom, there's your future. So I had nothing to live for anymore. So it makes a lot of sense that I got addicted to some shit that made me feel feelings or not feel feelings, right? And that was rough. But when you're getting clean, man, you're like a second to second, like surviving second to second. And then eventually it gets like 10 seconds to 10 seconds, and then like minute to minute. I remember specifically in the like...
Were you in an inpatient facility or anything?
I did inpatient for 90 days. Like the first week or two of inpatient, there was this hallway. And I knew that it took me like 11 seconds to push back and forth between one end to the other end. So I did the math on it. And I was like, okay, I've got to push back and forth 1,079 times before lunch. So I would like, that's all I could do to keep myself sane, like minute to minute, like it was ridiculous. And then eventually it got, like hour to hour, and then it got day to day. And, I did 90 patients in 90 days inpatient. A lot of people do 30 days. I did 90 days because I was serious about this shit. I knew what the other side of addiction looked like. I didn't like using. I didn't like what addiction looked like. I didn't like the life I lived. It was fucking terrible. And recovery was fucking hard. Like one of the hardest shit I've ever gone through in my entire life.
Yeah.
But I knew on the other side it was better. I knew it was better than what I was. So statistically, 90 days, higher success rate. Boom, did it. Right? And I had a lot of high levels of willingness and a lot of mental therapy and a lot of, let me tell you, how I talk a lot about, personal development and self-betterment, right? The 12 steps is probably like the most thorough version of getting to know yourself that anyone will ever take. Yeah. Even if you're not addicted, like I would recommend picking up a step working guide.
Yeah.
Like Google search 12 step step working guide, and I swear to you, like you'll go through the first step and be like, oh, fuck. And then like that has brought great awareness to my life, and especially like working with a sponsor, like having someone who's like a mentor and getting involved in like my home group and like making a recovery like a part of my life.
Yeah.
Right? And it's about reaching a balance, right? So I'm about 3 years right now. I don't go to as many meetings. I don't call my sponsor. It's very much about balance, right? Because I'm back to living life. But in the beginning, it was an everyday, multiple day type of thing.
Of course.
My life was an obsessive quest of the getting and using and finding ways and means to get more drugs, right? So I had to transition that into obsessive quest to staying clean, right?
Yeah.
And doing everything I could in my power, right? Removing people, places, and things, awareness of habits, attitudes, etc. Right? So
yeah.
That shit was heavy. And then I got out.
Did you go to a halfway house or anything?
I did. I went to like a 3/4 house, which is one step above a halfway house.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
3/4 house.
3/4 house, and I did that for a while.
What's the difference? They're not monitoring you as closely, or?
Yeah, there's just a little bit more freedom.
Gotcha. Like no curfew or?
No, you still curfew. You're still drug tested. You're still accountable. But you're like sharing a 3-bedroom apartment with like 5 guys.
Okay.
And every morning you got to show up to like a meeting type thing, and then you have to go to meetings, get your meeting sheet signed, and then I at the same time I did another 90 days of outpatient treatment. So that was intensive, like 8 to 4. Like it was heavy, right? Mm-hmm. Because I knew I was like, I'm not gonna be statistic. Like I refuse to fucking relapse. Like everybody relapses. Like everyone goes back. And I refuse, like I'm not gonna fucking do it. Like no way in hell am I ever gonna go back to that life. So I did everything in my power that I possibly could. And then I transitioned into like a 7/8, which is like above a 3/4. And that is no curfew, less roommates, but you still get drug tested. And I did that for a while.
That's cool. What is it about the drug testing? Is it like you don't want to let people down? Like, because obviously
it's just accountability.
Yeah,
that's all it is. Because like you can piss dirty. Anybody pisses dirty. There's people that piss dirty all the time. But like it's just an accountability. It's not for you. It's for them, right? Because like the reality is like I made the decision to get clean. I make the decision to not use drugs. I make the decision, right? But as a requirement, in order to stay in these places, you have to be clean, and they can't trust you because more than likely you're a fucking liar. Right? Mm-hmm. Or was a fucking liar.
Yeah, right? You're a master manipulator, and that's why you're there.
Exactly. So that is their way of protecting themselves and protecting other people, and and all that shit.
Tough love.
Sure, I guess that, but I got to tell you, like that process has been amazing. Like it's brought my family close together. My relationships have grown. Like most of the destruction that I caused has been repaired and repaired even better. Like have you ever had an injury before and like after you fixed the injury, it was better than it was before?
Yeah, like a tree getting chopped down and the trunk is like twice as thick or whatever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. It's kind of like that. Like the bonds and the relationships I have with my family were
that's really cool.
Like, tighter than fucking ever, and that's amazing. Like even the relationship with my mom and relationship with my sisters, and like, that's amazing.
It's really cool. Is your family still back in Kansas, or are they here now?
So one of my sisters is here in Atlanta, the oldest sister, the one who's kind of like mama's sister. Love her to death. And then my other sister is in Kansas City still.
Nice.
Because her children's father is also in Kansas City, and
Gotcha.
she didn't want to leave.
Makes sense.
Because she knows what it's like to grow up without a dad around, because we grew up without a dad around, and she didn't want to make that happen.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then my mom moved here after my accident, because that's what moms do.
Yeah, I was curious about what happened with that. That makes sense, though.
Yeah, that's what moms do. And so after I stopped poisoning myself, right, and eventually got out of the 3/4 house or the 7/8 house and like moved in on my own. So I got my own place now, got my own apartment, and I was like, okay, like I'm clean, I feel good. Like what do I do now, right?
Yeah.
So I was slowly migrating back into like the art scene.
Yeah.
I was like doing paintings and like doing sculptures and like migrating my way back into that because art is still important to me. And because like my addiction, I kind of like lost, like drugs really take away more than like my dreams, my goals, my ambitions, my passions. Like it just fucked with me hard. And so I started to slowly work my way back into it, like building up that momentum. And then at the same time, I was also starting to like work out again.
Nice.
Get serious, right? And I was definitely fat. Like I remember, so funny. My before picture, one of my before pictures was taken. So I wanted to get on like a dating website, and I was like, I hit up a friend of mine. I was like, hey man, can you you got a nice camera? Can you take some nice photos for me for like Tinder or like fucking OkCupid or Match or whatever bullshit I was on at the time.
Yeah.
Because I thought I was ready for a relationship. Yeah, right. And so he like took all these pictures of me, and they were decent, they were all right, whatever. But I remember after seeing those, I'm like, I'm a fat fuck. Like, I'm a slob. I'm nasty. Like I have transitioned my drug addiction into a food addiction. Like I've transitioned this into like a sedentary laze. Like I'm playing video games. I'm fucking drinking so much caffeine. I'm smoking a shit ton of cigarettes. Like what the fuck is wrong with me, right? So
that's another thing that a lot of people in recovery smoke so many cigarettes.
Oh, dude, bro, it's like the smell of cigarettes make me nauseous now. Like I can smell it from a mile away, and I almost want to throw up. So I stopped.
That's interesting.
I stopped smoking cigarettes and dropped caffeine, and then went vegan.
Whoa!
I did that as an experiment to like force myself to not be able to go out to eat anywhere, pretty much.
Yeah.
To prepare my own food and to stop making packaged foods, and because if it was like in a box, or if it was microwaved, or if it was a sandwich, or if it was like at a restaurant, that's how I ate.
Yeah.
And so that experiment lasted for like 6 months until I went on a trip to Hawaii, and there was a luau, and I was like, I can't not eat this meat at this luau right now. So I had like pork and salmon and ahi tuna, and I had a nice little V-lapse there. I put vegan relapse, I just
V-lapse. That's funny. I like that. I like that.
Little joke, and and at the time I was getting real serious about working out, because like for the longest time I told myself like I can't. Right? Like, I can't work out the way I used to do it, so I'm not even gonna try. Like, I can't.
Because you were doing bodybuilding style lifting, or what?
I was doing like serious shit, yeah. Like a combination of like bodybuilding and like pre-CrossFit, before CrossFit was a thing, like a lot of agility and a lot of strength and a lot of reps and a lot of intensity.
Yeah, I feel you.
Type workouts, and being like a tournament level athlete, and being like real heavy into running, and like fitness was very much a part of my life. And because I thought like, I can't do what I was able to do before, so why even try?
Yeah, exactly.
But I was miserable, man. And it all started out by me like getting in my wheelchair and going out to like my tennis court at my building and just pushing back and forth for like 20 minutes a day just to get my blood flowing, right? And then it migrated into, okay, I'll explore the gym in my building, right? I don't want anybody to see me, right?
Did you go there at night or something?
Yeah, I'd go there like early in the morning or late at night because I just didn't want to like look like a fool. But I got really comfortable in there. I got really confident in there, and I learned how to like what moves worked for me and what moves didn't work for me. And I got to like.
What kind of exercises were you doing?
Still like bodybuilding stuff, but it was all like modified, right? Because like I couldn't stand. Everything had to be like seated, or like leaning forward or leaning backward, right? And then I was like, you know what? I'm feeling really great. Like I'm feeling really good. Like I wonder if I can like hop on that pedal bike over there. Like there's like this bike over in the corner that like has like foot straps on it. Like let me go try that out. And I just got bold and I just did it. And I lasted.
Because your legs, obviously you're walking.
Yeah.
Like you can get around without a chair, which is amazing.
Gimping. I call it gimping.
I love it.
Gimping around. Yeah.
I love it. But so like in the beginning though, could you use your legs at all? Were they totally immobile?
Yeah. So like when I first got hurt, nothing worked.
Wow. And how did what was the slow progression of like getting it back? Using the braces and stuff?
Yeah, using the braces and the crutches, I got as far as I possibly could. And luckily, like my right quad was like the first thing that came back, and that's really strong. So I could use a lot of like one-footed right like leg stuff. So I could stand. Right, but standing and walking are not the same thing. No. And I could stand if I was holding on to something. Right, and it's been progressively like getting better and better and better.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw your Instagram live the other day where you squatted.
Yeah.
Dude, that was so gnarly.
Yeah, that was my biggest PR. I did like over 100 plus pounds for reps.
That's so sick.
And like 6 months earlier, so after riding the bike for like a year and like getting up the endurance and the strength to even just like pedal on a bike with like minimal resistance for 60 minutes, I then was like, I wonder if I can do body squats. So I went and like held on to the bar on the Smith machine and started doing like some body squats.
Like kind of using your arms to lift yourself up a little bit.
Exactly. And then it got to the point where I was just hanging on for balance and not for momentum. And then I was like, I wonder if I can squat the actual bar. So
because you're using a Smith machine, so it's not.
Yeah, so it doesn't wobble. So then I started squatting the actual bar, and then I started slowly adding on weight and slowly adding on weight and slowly adding on weight. And because I was doing those, I felt more confident in other areas. And then I started adding in like, what moves can I do? What moves can I do? Let me try this, let me try that, let me try this, let me try that. And I kept just experimenting, I kept experimenting. And then the gym at, that's in my neighborhood, that's literally in my parking lot. I'm so lucky, I don't even have to get in a car to go to the gym. I like wake up and walk out of my building and go right to the gym. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
I bumped into a friend I hadn't seen in like 10 years. And holy shit, dude, what's going on? Hey, man. He's like, hey. So we swapped numbers, we talked.
Did he know that you had this accident, or was he surprised?
Yeah, he like heard it through the grapevine and he saw it and was like, yeah, whatever. But like through the years of like playing in my own gym, I got confident enough to like walk around in the gym without like a crutch or a chair. But that's not a lot of distance. It's like maybe like 10 feet here, 10 feet there. And it's like, it's wobbly, it's gimpy. Like my left leg hyperextends, my right ankle rolls out really bad. Like I flop everywhere I go, like standing up and sitting down, so oomph, you know? But I connected with him, and then I connected with his fiance, and this is a crazy fucking story right here. So Ashley was also a mentor, like with Megan May, when I was working out with Megan May in 2009.
Whoa.
So Megan May worked with me and with Ashley about the same time, like mentoring us and like hanging out with us and like getting us more confidence in our life and talking with us. She like adopted us basically.
That's awesome.
And I knew Blake around the same time too, but in different scenarios. And then when I reconnected with Blake, he was always talking about his fiance this, fiance. It was his girlfriend at the time. My girlfriend this, my girlfriend that. And he's like, he showed me on Instagram, and I was like, oh yeah, she's badass. And then I saw she followed Megan May. I was like, how does your girl know Megan? So I shot her a DM. I was like, hey, how do you know Megan May? And she's like, we used to work together, or we used to work out together at Gold's Gym and blah, blah, blah time. And I was like, yo, me too. She's like, I thought you looked familiar. And then we just like started gabbing back and forth, and it's really like a small world situation, because like they too, I have a professional relationship now with them now, where they like coach me and train me. Like she builds my training programs for me. He builds my diet for me. She actually even cooks and preps my food for me.
Wow, that's awesome.
And that helps. Like I don't have to go grocery shopping, which is awesome. Thank goodness. I don't have to make my own food. Thank goodness. Right.
Yeah.
And that's a service that they render. It's pretty fucking awesome. And working with those two together, like I'm on such an obsessive quest to ditch the wheelchair and the crutch altogether. They are also on an obsessive quest to help me out.
That's so cool,
right?
Man.
So we're like working together and like reconnecting, and it's
so fun. Like 6 months ago you were squatting like holding the bar, and now you're squatting like 100 pounds.
Yeah,
that's crazy, man.
Yeah. So what's happening is, remember I was talking about pain, right? Mm-hmm. So I used to resent the pain. I used to fight the pain. I used to argue with it. I used to get mad at it, right? I used to take like muscle relaxers. I used to like take like ibuprofen. I mean, still all non-narcotic, but like what I could do for it. And then it like transitioned into like a gratitude for it, where I started to be grateful for it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be grateful for this pain, because I may be feeling pain, but hey, guess what? I'm feeling something. In my legs, right? It's not what even right now, it feels like they're on fire from the inside out. Like my bones, it fucking sucks. But you would never notice that from my personality. Like from my cheer, like I choose to be cheerful regardless of where my pain is at. And so I started having gratitude for it. And I had this little mantra that I have in my head where I just say, grow, 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 grow. Because like I'm deciding that pain is not a bad pain, it's a good pain. I'm deciding that is nerves regenerating. I'm deciding that is connections, mind to muscle connection happening in. I'm making that conscious decision. Whether that is or is that not, don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know, but I'm choosing
to believe that.
I'm choosing to believe that that's what it is. And because I stopped like resenting the pain and being grateful for it, I don't try to avoid it anymore. It's like doing certain exercises caused it to hurt real bad. And not in a hurt that it's damaging type of way. It's a holy shit, it's 4:00 in the fucking morning and I can't sleep right now because it feels literally like my legs are on fire and I can't do anything about it. Instead of being mad about it, I just kind of smile and I just read, you know? Or I'll like text a buddy, or I'll like fuck around on Instagram for a few hours. Or I just won't sleep that night, like, and then I'll sleep in the day when it calms down. You know, so that kind of mental shift has put me into a place where I have a higher willingness to push myself into discomfort. That's
so powerful, man.
And I'm putting myself into this ability to like chase fear.
I love it.
Like there's this weird like if I'm afraid of something, that means I got to do it now. Like anytime I get like anxious or nervous or like shaky, I'm like, well, that's the direction I have to go. Like that's where I'm going right now. And it's been giving me the courage to some crazy stuff. Like, so I stopped taking my wheelchair to the gym. That's a thing I don't do anymore. I did that this week. That's a new thing this week, where I was like, while I'm at the gym, I don't ever use it. I only use it to get to and from the gym. So let me just walk to the gym instead of rolling around, right? And
are the people at the gym like noticing changes and stuff?
Yeah.
Or like,
yeah,
that's cool.
It's blowing some people's minds too, which is kind of cool, because I'm now even gaining the courage to like, the other day I went up to my sister's house and I didn't take my chair with me or my crutch with me, right? And I just went into her house and waddled around and said hi and said hello, and then came here to the studio and brought out a microwave, and I managed to, I like took 2 rolly chairs and like put the microwave on a rolly chair and like pushed the rolly chair, you know, because I can't carry shit. Like my balance is terrible, my strength is terrible.
That's an interesting thing I wouldn't have thought about.
Dude, my disability has given me the best problem solving skills in the entire fucking world. Like my ability to gain perspective on things and approach things at a new angle, I apply that to every part of my life. I'm like, what's another way that we can do this? What's a different way that this can be done? What's a better way?
Yeah.
What's a more effective way? What's a different way? And that skill set, again, kind of was talking about how like addiction gave me, it's like some assets, like my disability gave me some assets as well. So like there's a lot of real interesting, like having gratitude for this shit, being like, I'm thankful these things happened to me because as a result of them, I am the person I am today. Right.
Of course.
And that's crazy gratitude. So like right now, my biggest obsessions in life are art and fitness. Like those are the two things that I'm going for. Like my days revolve around art, fitness, and cultivating relationships.
That's awesome.
Those are like the big things.
So right now we're in a studio that you're currently working in.
Yeah.
Tell everyone about like what the art you're making and stuff like that is, and like how you're making money and stuff. Because obviously people always think like starving artists. Like
I'm the opposite of a starving artist.
That's fucking awesome.
So currently, right now, I am in an artist studio. It's a shared studio space. Her name is Kara Nicole. Kara and I met at the High Museum one night. We both took ourselves on a little like date to go see whatever we were gonna go see. We made friends. And then went and got tea and just chatted afterwards. And she got to know about me, I got to know about her. And then she approached me like May, I think, maybe April or May, and be like, hey, there's this project I want to do. Are you interested in getting involved in it? I know you have production background. I was like, yeah, let's do it. So what we're doing is we're creating, I'm being super ambiguous here. Yeah. On purpose. So we're creating, we together created a form, a sculpture, a 3D item, and we are working on getting it producing for retail, right? So we're going to produce a high number of them and that will high number for art, right? Mm-hmm. I think so there's 3 variations, maybe 4 variations, and we're going to do probably 50 variations of each, so a total of 200, right? So once it goes into retail, I take half. So whatever it sells for, I get half, right? So we have, an agreement that we came to minus cost, right? So there's cost involved in making, there's cost in marketing, there's cost in branding, there's also cost in whatever commission the store takes, right? So for whatever we net or gross, whatever it is, whichever the right one is.
Yeah, I think
gross is the total.
Net is what you get after.
Net is profit. So after net, so we split net. Yeah.
Nice.
We're gonna split the net.
And do you already have agreements with like retailers and stuff? Like, do you know what retail space is?
We just this week, I was finally able to. My goal this whole time. So we've been working with organic materials, and organic materials are the worst to work with. They're complicated. They're temperamental because they're connected to the atmosphere, right? So any type of organic, it depends on the weather, it depends on the temperature, it depends on the attitude, it depends on the chemicals you're working with. Organic materials are a pain. They're just a complete pain. So this has been the longest pre-production I've ever done. And this has taken us quite a few months. But my goal, before I can start producing, I wanted 2 and 48 hours hiccup free. Today, before you came in, I pulled my second one out in 48 hours.
Nice.
So I got my 2 in 48 hours, and it's taken a long time. So she's in the process of building her website, doing the catalog, shopping to retailers. She already has a few buyers that she's already sold the narrative to. So there's a big narrative around this particular piece.
Are you able to share it, or is it a secret?
Well, for now, it's a secret.
Okay.
Just keep your eye on Kara Nicole Design.
Cool.
Or Kara Nicole. That's like her Instagram or her website.
Cool.
Kara Nicole. Yeah.
Sweet.
So keep your eye on that information, and you can also I occasionally put stuff on my Snap story or my Instagram stories.
Cool.
And I've got this. So my next move professionally is to get my own studio space, because there's a couple of things I want to do. One, I want to be able to offer this service to other artists. The idea of
production.
The idea of saying, hey, I see you're a successful artist, but a lot of times artists get stuck in success. They're constantly doing back-to-back commissions, and they're unable to work on passion projects, or they're unable to work on what they want to do, right? They're kind of stuck because they don't have a lot of income, right? This kind of automates income a little bit, because what I do is I step in, I produce the line, they go out to retail, and as they sell, we both have income come in. She gets income, I get income.
Nice.
As a result of this. So what that does is that frees her from commissions. So she doesn't have to worry about commissions anymore. The artist doesn't have to worry about commissions anymore. They can focus on their bigger projects, their 6-month projects, their year projects. So
that makes sense.
In art, you can get stuck in success. You can get trapped in success because then you stop making work.
Because you're making one-off art for like commission?
Yeah, you're just doing commissions. You're not making art for yourself anymore. You're making art for other people. And that is a challenge when you're constantly making art for other people. It's your style, it's your aesthetic, it's your brand, but it's for other people. And then another part of that is I want to create a space, and it's super undefined yet, but I know what I want it to do, right? So this space would be a place where individuals like myself who are like tinkerers, builders, experimenters, individuals who maybe have a science background, individuals that maybe have an art background, individuals that maybe have an engineering background, individuals that maybe have an entrepreneurial background, right? And bring them together in a space to create. So I think artists can learn a lot from scientists, and scientists can learn a lot from artists. But the reality is they never work together, right?
Yeah.
There is no space for an artist and a scientist to team up.
Yeah. But when you're dealing with, like you said, like organic materials and all this kind of stuff, like you're dealing with all kinds of weird science stuff that the artist doesn't know about.
Exactly. And I mean that in the sense of like, even a lot of practices, like art is very scientific and science is very artistic.
Yeah.
But in order to bring the two together, right, I would also like to have engineers nearby to build, right? So if these science and artists come together and we've got these brilliant fucking ideas and we build models and maquettes, we need an engineer to design and to produce and to package and to ship and all that stuff. We need an entrepreneur to make us money, right? So I want to bring these people together to possibly even start little, but like maybe even scale up to the insane, crazy level of like what Elon's doing or even what, I forget, I don't know how to pronounce the guy's name, but it's a guy who does 5 Hour Energy, who owns 5 Hour Energy. He's got this project, it's called Billions and Change. It's a documentary you can watch on YouTube. And Billions and Change is basically, he focuses on water, power, and energy. Well, power is energy. I don't remember exactly. Water, power, and healthcare. That's what it is. Water, power, and healthcare. And he has these inventions that are all utility based. Like he's got a bike that you pedal for 1 hour and it can power a home for 24 hours. Wow. He's got these particular devices, like medical devices that are preventative medication. Like you put them on your body and it creates circulation and like I don't fully understand it, but it's incredible because he's just mashing the minds of people together. And I have this, I had this desire to, cultivate relationships, to bring people together, to make beautiful art, to have fun, and maybe solve some world's problems at the same time. And my next move is my own space. That's my next move.
That's awesome.
And it's not defined yet, right? Like it's still super ambiguous, and there's room to grow and it's room to fold. But like it scares the fuck out of me. Like it makes me shake, right? To think about like wanting to do that. But it's been on my mind for years and I've never done it.
Yeah.
I've never done it, but now I've got the mental capacity, the physical capacity, the financial capacity. Like I've got the ability to make this shit happen. And what scares me the most is like this, like the fear of success almost. Like the responsibility of success.
Yeah.
Like right now, I've got a lot of time autonomy. Like all day, every day, my schedule is flexible. I can do what I want when I want to do it, right? I still have things that I make myself do, and I still operate on a schedule. But lifestyle design, like time autonomy, is very fucking important to me. And this idea is so berserk, it's so wild, it's so crazy. Like I know it's gonna work, and that also scares me because like, what if all my time autonomy is gone, right? What if I can't do what I want to do when I want to do it? And that's silly and that's irrational and it's quite illogical, but that's kind of like where my brain is right now. And I'm working really hard. Like I'm doing a lot of like exercises and reading some literature and kind of coaching myself in my own little personal development world.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's super cool. I love that idea of like bringing everyone together because most of the time everyone wants to stay in their own bubble or they don't know how.
Stay in their own bubble, stay in their own lane, talk with their own friends, stay comfortable. And it's interesting. So most relationships are built out of convenience, proximity, or activity, right? Mm-hmm. How convenient is your relationships, your friends? Proximity, how close they are to you. Like, is it a work person? Is
your neighbor?
Is it a neighbor, right? And then activity based, like what activity you do with them. If you think back on your life of friends you have, most of them come from one of those three things. I have had a very different life than most people. Mm-hmm. And most of my friends do not come from any of those environments. Most of the relationships I have are intentional, they're meaningful, and they're one-on-one. Like, I don't really do groups. Like, groups aren't like a thing. And most of my friends haven't met each other. but the ones that have, it's awesome. And it's really kind of strange because like I have these friendships and these relationships that I've had for years, and we're tight. We're like OG, like we're close. And then I've got these other friends, this other individual that I'm like super tight, I'm super close friends for years, OG. And then they meet, and I forget that they don't know each other.
Yeah.
Because I'm so close with both of them, but they are strangers.
Yeah.
And it's real. That's always really fun.
Yeah.
To bring people together. But I like when we were talking about intimacy, right, and getting to know people. Like you'd be shocked at the wealth of knowledge that people have, that the skill sets that they have, that the capabilities that they have, that the ideas that they have. But they just need some guidance. They just need some implementation. They just need someone to say, "I fucking believe in you," right? Mm. And I would like to be that individual, right? Like to be like, holy shit, like I know someone who does that and can do this, and I know someone else who does that and can do this, and if we bring them together, we can make that happen, and if that happens, I can introduce them to so-and-so, and then that person can flip this, and like, it's all about, but it's based in relationship.
Exactly.
For me, at least, it's based in cultivating that relationship. And I go into every relationship not thinking, what can this person do for me? But like, what can I do for this person? Mm. And the universe has a real fucking cool way of hitting you back. You know, like the universe has this weird way. It's, you know, like some people describe it as karma or whatever.
Yeah. It's so true, man.
It's like what you put out into the universe is what you get back, right? Mm-hmm. And the more positivity and the more intentionality and the more passion and commitment and motivation and cheerfulness and kindness, like, yeah, you're gonna get it back.
Yeah, my friend Heidi she was on my podcast, and one of the things she said, she was quoting something, I don't know exactly what it is, but she said, "No karmic debt goes unpaid in the universe."
Interesting.
And I thought that was like a beautiful sentence, because it like sums up what you said. Like, whether it's a karmic debt of bad or a karmic debt of good. I was like karmic, I didn't even know that was a word, but like it's like the act of doing something good or something bad, that debt will come back to you. If you are indebting something good or indebting something bad, it'll come back. And dude, that's what I've been trying to do with this podcast too. Because that's the cool thing about having a podcast is like, yes, it's my thing. And like, yes, it's like this platform where I'm getting, hopefully I'll be able to monetize at some point. Right now I'm not monetized.
But you're adding value to people's lives.
Exactly. And I'm able to showcase these cool people that I meet or these cool people that I know, or I'm getting, I wouldn't have been introduced to somebody like you. And I wouldn't have came to your studio and talked to you for 2 hours. Like it's just such a cool opportunity. And I love that that's how you feel as well. Like I want to bring people together and all that kind of stuff. So I love that.
Yeah, I think relationships have their utility as well. Like some people come for a reason, some people come for a season, and some people come to stay, mm-hmm. right? And it all depends on willingness and effort on both parties, you know?
Mm-hmm. And it's very true.
And you know, there's certain people in my life that have faded in, there's certain people that have faded out, and like that's cool. I don't take that shit personal, that's just life.
Exactly.
You know, I tend to be really attracted to individuals who are in an obsessive pursuit of their own dreams, goals, and ambitions. And I too, I'm obsessive of quest of my dream, goals, and ambitions. And we both have a trajectory that has a different destination for the most part. So when we fly by each other, it's normally like the most gangster ass like trick high five ever, like woo yeah. And then it's like as fast as we're in each other's lives, we're fast out, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the people that you know, where they dip in and out. And there's also the people that are like really intentional. Like there's a buddy of mine, Tim. Tim and I got clean together, and that bottom line of our relationship, like he's over in his own world, living his own life, like doing his own thing. I'm in my own world, in my own life, doing my own thing. But we make sure to have intentional like relationship time together. Mm-hmm. Like we make a point, and we both have very full schedules. We both very much like what we're about. And but it'll be like, hey, there's a Cowboys game. He loves football. He's so into football. There's a Cowboys game, and you know my fiance doesn't want me watching in the house because the kids are there, and I get a little crazy. So meet me at Taco Mac, and I'm like, fuck yeah. So I get like 3 hours with him, or. Yeah. You know, but we've done a lot together, and you know he's someone that's definitely not gonna fade away.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know there's the people. You know, it's so funny. I think for me, the people that have been with me through the thick and the thin and through everything that I always took for granted, but now that I'm getting older, I'm like, oh shit, it's my family. Like it's only like there's so much perspective that I'm like, it is not uncommon for me to cycle in and out of friendships pretty rapidly. 6 months, a year, year and a half, 2 years. And it's not like there's any bad blood. It's not like we dislike each other. It's not like it's a fight. It's just driven people tend to be driven and obsessed in their own directions.
Yeah, exactly.
And lucky for me, like my family's always there no matter what.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's some major fucking gratitude I have right there.
That's really freaking cool, man. Dude, I feel like this is a good place to wrap things up.
I agree, man. This has been awesome.
Dude, for sure. Do you have any last piece of wisdom or anything that you would like to say on the show, or anything? Any last words?
Something I've been saying a lot to an individual who I'm getting pretty close with is progress, not perfection, right? So something to remember on the quest to bettering yourself, and something on the quest to become the best version of yourself, right? No one's perfect. Like, perfection is a myth, and it's all about progress. Because the reality is, if you look back 6 months, if you look back a year from where you are today, your failed day today was one of the most successful days you had probably a year ago. I know that's my reality. Where the days that it is, to my current standards, not a good day, but to the standards of me 6 months ago, or to the standards of me a year ago, one of the most productive days ever. So it's not about a destination, it's about that journey, right? It's about progressing. It's the attitude of, I am not where I want to be, but damn it, I'm a lot further than where I was. You know, it's the idea of, 5 steps forwards and 3 steps back. That's still 8 steps. And every step forward is a step in the right direction.
Very true, man. Love it. If people want to follow you or ask you questions or anything like that, I'm sure some people might have questions or whatever. Where's the best place to reach out to you or find you or whatever?
So I'm only on Instagram right now.
Cool.
At RTCORBETT 1313. I like 13 because everyone's superstitious in sports and I'm not. So when I was playing sports, I used to always get 13.
There we go.
That was my thing. Yeah. So RT Corbett 13. You follow me if you want. You don't have to. Sometimes I just like motivational content. You can also shoot me DMs. I'm on Instagram a lot. I don't have the notifications turned on, but like I'm on there so much, like I might as well. Like
that's how I am too.
I see that shit.
That's how I am too. I'm like, I turn notifications off for all social media because I'm like, I'm gonna log in like at some point.
Yeah.
I don't need to know the exact moment someone like likes my picture. I'll see it later.
Yeah, I'll see that. I'll see it later. And it's kind of more fun to see like all of the notifications at once instead of like blip 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 blip.
Yeah, exactly. You get like a big dump instead of just like tiny little
blips.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no doubt. But yeah, just you can find me on Instagram, and then like you can take me to coffee. I like espresso. Find a bougie ass espresso place. You can take.
That's how you impress Richard right there.
Yeah,
take him to a bougie espresso place.
So you know how some people are like wine connoisseurs, or some people are like beer connoisseurs. Like I'm about espresso and cologne. Those are like the two things I will spend a lot of money on and get really fancy with is fragrance and espresso.
There we go.
And candles.
That's awesome.
And candles too. Yeah, if you really want to impress me, this is what you do. You buy me some candles and
some nice ass espresso and some good ass cologne.
And some espresso. Yeah, there you go. Those are my 3 things.
I like it. Very nice. Well, that's our show, everybody. Thanks again for being on the show, and I'll talk to you later.
Wow, that was an awesome episode, right? I loved it. And when I was re-listening to it, I got chills in a couple parts. Like, damn, that was powerful. But anyways, I want to thank Richard again for being on the show, for being so open and vulnerable. It's so cool how the show has brought some of the most awesome people into my life. And I am so grateful for those relationships. And I hope they continue to cultivate. if you liked this episode, I have a sneaking suspicion that you would like some of my other episodes too. Two episodes that come to mind are episode 32 with Brandon Winfield and episode 2 with Ashlyn Showalter. The episode with Brandon is a paraplegic who is doing really big things in overcoming his personal physical obstacles. He's the CEO of Paraperks. He recently started recording his own podcast. He's a dirt biking and racing fan. He's a really active guy, and he does all of this while being paralyzed from the waist down. So if you really liked Richard's story of overcoming his injury, I think you would really enjoy Brandon's story as well. And then also episode 2 with Ashlyn. She is a certified personal trainer and world traveler. She's also just a really fantastic human who radiates good vibes. And in her episode, we talked about meditation, happiness, fitness, personal development, her training styles in the gym, and her diet. And again, that was episode 32 and episode 2. And I think you guys would really like those episodes as well. I'm going to wait one more episode to release Alan's episode, like I mentioned before. So that means that episode 48 is coming up next with Annie Eaton. And Annie is the CEO of a company called Futurist. It's a future development company future technology development company that focuses on virtual and augmented reality development. And she serves on TAG's digital media board. She also runs a 900-member VR interest group here in Atlanta. We met up at her office to discuss the future of VR and all kinds of other fun stuff. But, oh boy, I got to try their totally immersive VR experience. And holy crap. Like, I'm not exaggerating. It was mind-blowing, borderline life-changing. I'm not joking. Like, it was so crazy. And for the past 2 weeks, I have not been able to stop thinking about it. It was so cool. But anyways, that episode should be out soon. So be on the lookout for that. Hopefully, it'll be up on Friday. Don't count on it because today's Thursday. I'm going to put it out this weekend. Maybe Monday. Let's shoot for Monday. If you want to support the podcast, best way to do that is to go to iTunes. I know iTunes sucks, but the Apple Podcast app and iTunes happen to be the number one place where people discover podcasts, and I really, really, really want my podcast to break through, mainly because I want to share these awesome stories and these awesome people with more people of the world. And the only way I'm going to break through into the iTunes top charts is for you to go rate it 5 stars. Also, I read every single review that is on iTunes for my podcast. So if you really want to leave me some feedback, that is the best place to do it. I would really appreciate if you could write a few kind words there. It would really, really, really go a long way. Also, if you want to support the podcast, another great way of doing that is to share it with your friends. I have had so many people in the past couple weeks tell me that they have heard of my podcast through one of their friends. And that means so much to me because that means that you guys are really enjoying this. And that just makes me more and more freaking motivated to put these out and to create more good content. So please, please, please share this podcast with a friend. I know that you probably have some friends that would enjoy it, so that would be great. If you want to follow me, you can go to my website, andrewdeitsch.com. That's Andrew, DEITSCH.com. And you can find links to all of my social media handles and accounts. That's all I got. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still here, that really, really means a lot. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.
I'll just be like in Target, minding my own business, and people like will make eye contact. Oh, sorry. And I'm like, what the fuck are you sorry for? What are you sorry for?